Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes are sweet and sexy. Have fun, enjoy the journey. Or just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade. Sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and the Shakeouts. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday, my friends. Today is Friday, July 17th, 2026, TGIF. And as we gear up for the major hearing on Monday morning, July 20th, for independent journalist Aidan Carney, aka Turtle Boy, in Massachusetts. It's Norfolk County, right? We need to talk about another reporter and what's happening to another independent journalist in the low country of South Carolina, because I think there are a lot of parallels about what's going on here. So it's going to be interesting to talk about. I can't wait to lay it on you. For those of you who do not know who Mandy Matney is an independent journalist out of South Carolina. She was 28 years old when she first started reporting on the Murdaugh family in 2019. The Murdaugh family, for those of you who don't know, was a dynasty of sorts, a very powerful family who ran the low country of South Carolina for something like 100 years. Mandy Matney will tell you that she was uncovering corruption, just like Aidan Carney will tell you that he is uncovering and has been uncovering corruption as it relates to the Karen Read case and the depths of the corruption in the Massachusetts State Police, in the Norfolk County DA's office, maybe the Canton Police Department. And Aidan Carney started covering the Karen Read case in April of 2023 as a reporter. And because of his coverage of the Karen Read case, and it is fully admitted by the House defendants that have sued him for defamation, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Brian Higgins, Aidan Carney and his journalism was able to mobilize an entire movement called the Free Karen Read movement, which resulted in, how many hundreds of thousands of people being interested in Karen Read's persecution, because she was prosecuted twice for killing her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, for a car accident that didn't happen, because John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. A car did not hit John O'Keefe because medicine, science, physics, expert witnesses, and a lot of sus behavior by the people that lived in the house, which was also owned by, coincidentally, a Boston police officer. His brother, a detective, worked for Canton PD, the first responding law enforcement on the scene. And here we sit 4 years after the murder of John O'Keefe, and no one's been arrested. Karen Read was finally acquitted 4.5 years later, and now we're covering all of the civil litigation fallout that has happened since Karen Reed. And Mandy Matney, the journalist in South Carolina, is now dealing with the civil case fallout from the Alex Murdaugh prosecution. But specifically, what she has recently been held in contempt for is failure to appear for a deposition in a civil case that has to do with the boat crash. That was a very long introduction. Mandy Matney was 19 years old when she started, 28 years old when she started covering Murdaughs in 2019. 2019 was the boat crash in which Paul Murdaugh was driving the Murdaugh family boat and crashed the boat, resulting in the death of beautiful 19-year-old Mallory Beach. There has been a lot of litigation surrounding the wrongful death case of Mallory Beach. Paul Murdaugh, son of Alex Murdaugh, was charged with criminal charges resulting from the boat crash, and it was horrific. But when Paul Murdaugh and his mother, Maggie, were gunned down in 2021, the charges against Paul were dropped because he was no longer upon this mortal coil, as our friend Kathy from Gossip Rumor and Innuendo would say. Mandy Matney spent a lot of time uncovering a lot of things having to do with the Murdaughs. She was like a pit bull. It is said that she uncovered all of the financial crimes of Alex Murdaugh, and she just wouldn't let go. Originally, when she started covering the case, she was an independent reporter with a very small outfit. Let me just get back to my notes here. It was before she worked for Fitz News. She worked for the Island Packet, which was a local newspaper with a subscription based of $16,000, based on Hilton Head, South Carolina. The Island Packet. She began covering the Murdaughs after the February 24th, 2019 fatal boat crash that resulted in the death of 19-year-old Mallory Beach. Allegedly, Paul Murdaugh was intoxicated. She later transitioned in 2020 to digital news outlet Fitz News before launching her own independent podcast network, Luna Shark Media. She was heavily involved with the Hulu miniseries that I've told you about many times. I really enjoyed that Hulu miniseries. And she apparently, I'm sure she makes a very good living. Her Luna Shark Media company, while privately held, and her net worth is not public. She's very successful. And just 2 days ago, a South Carolina court has held Mandy Matney in contempt for failing to show up for a deposition for another civil case that she's not a party to, and has fined her $176,500 for not showing up for her deposition. Unlike Massachusetts, South Carolina does have an investigative journalistic privilege, a journalistic shield law. Massachusetts does not, but it's also very limited. And so certain things are protected, certain things are not. Let's go back, though, if we can, back to April 30th of 2025, when Mandy Matney appeared on Court TV to talk about the Hulu miniseries and all of the things that were happening for her back at that time. It's Julie Grant, sorry, but let's just take a look. It's a short piece.
Indictment for murder, guilty. Indictment for murder, guilty.
Justice was done.
It gave a voice to Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, who were brutally mowed down and murdered. We can't bring them back, but we can bring them justice.
And he may be taken away.
Now to what's trending in true crime. The real-life crime drama surrounding the once powerful South Carolina attorney Alex Murdaugh is coming to the small screen. A new Hulu series about Murdaugh and the murders of his wife Maggie and his son Paul and all of his financial crimes is being filmed right now as we speak. And the main characters have been cast. Actor Jason Clarke will be playing Alex Murdaugh. Patricia Arquette will be playing Alex's late wife Maggie. And Brittany Snow is set to take on the role of journalist Mandy Matney. Now, Matney is very well known for all of her great reporting work on the murders of Maggie and Paul early on. Many people would say that she is the one who really pulled back the curtain on the Murdaugh family and on their saga of crime and corruption. And we're so happy to welcome Mandy Matney and her friend and co-host of the Cup of Justice podcast, Eric Bland, on the show this morning. Good morning to you both. Wonderful to have you here.
Let me know if you watched the Hulu miniseries and if you liked it, because I really liked it a lot. I thought it was really well done. And Jason Clarke, the way that he was able to portray Alex Murdaugh, it's really hard to play a real person. I mean, he nailed it. The mannerisms, the voice, you know, down to the droplets of sweat that were coming off of his brow. It was amazing. This goes back to, this piece is from April 2025.
And Mandy, let me start, please, by just saying congratulations. We are so thrilled for you. This is so exciting, and all of that hard work really has paid off. How does it feel?
It feels absolutely surreal. And thank you, Julie, for having me on. I just keep walking around and I'm like, ask people. I want people to ask me about the Murdaugh show all the time. I'm so happy about it. Like, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of this project.
Okay, so if you're not looking at your screen, I'm going to tell you what it says on the side of the screen. Mandy Matney bio launched the Murdaugh Murders Podcast 2 weeks after Paul and Maggie's deaths. The Murdaugh Murders Podcast hit #1 on Apple Podcasts in September of 2021. And coincidentally, or ironically, Eric Bland announced yesterday that he was leaving the Cup of Justice podcast. For what reasons, I don't know. But he says, it's been the honor of my lifetime to work alongside of Mandy, Liz, and David and the True Sunlight staff for the last 5 years in pursuing justice for the Murdaugh financial crime victims, as well as other important matters that benefited the sunlight that we gave to them. And so I don't know if it has anything to do with this contempt fine that's been issued against her. I don't know if they were parting ways anyway, but the timing is interesting. Back to the piece.
And every time I'm on set, I am just more and more confident of how great this show is going to be. So I'm just over the moon. And Brittany Snow is literally the best of the best. A literal movie star. I can't believe it.
Right. I love that she's playing you. That is perfect. A perfect casting there. And Eric, I know you are a dear friend of Mandy's. You two started the Cup of Justice podcast and really kind of bonded over, you know, the involvement that you both had respectively in covering the Murdaugh case and you representing witnesses who were involved, Eric. And so what's this like for you, seeing this success for Mandy?
I think it's the best. I mean, it's richly deserved. And as you said in your introduction, she really was the OG on this Murdaugh saga. In 2018, she started investigating the Murdaugh family. And this was way before the murders, way before the thefts were discovered, way before the Labor Day shooting, way before he was removed from his law firm. So Mandy was, you know, taking on a hard task. There was a lot of people that were offended by the questions that she was asking, and it's really nice. I mean, Mandy has not participated in a lot of these interviews on TV. She hasn't really lent her hand to any of the documentaries that have appeared. But this one, you know, being a co-producer of this, she really is behind it. And I think you're going to see an accuracy to this series that you may not have seen on some of the documentaries that had a compressed time schedule to put together a story to try to beat other companies. So they're taking their time, and I think they're doing it right. And it's a great reward for Mandy's hard work.
Oh, I know you're so proud of her. Mandy, I understand that you went on set. They're filming this in Atlanta. I understand that you traveled and got to be on the set and even have a chair with your name on it. How cool was that?
Incredible. Yesterday, looking over and seeing Patricia Arquette, like the queen of the world, just looking exactly like Maggie. I have to do double takes on the set constantly because Jason Clarke looks exactly like Alex Murdaugh. That kind of freaks me out. Will Harrison looks a lot like Buster. And Johnny Birchgold looks a lot like Paul Murdaugh. And I've seen these people in real life, and I have to just look a couple times because I'm like, whoa. I mean, the level of detail in this show, and the crew was working so hard for not only accuracy, but to respectfully portray the victim stories and to tell the right parts of this story that will, A, inspire people to stand up to corruption, and B, to make sure that these victims don't get forgotten and that their stories are really told, and what happened here is told in the right way.
Right.
So her goal was exposing corruption, just like Aiden Carney, aka Turtle Boy's goal is exposing corruption and trying to have the proper people charged for the murder of John O'Keefe. And he made some money doing it. Not as much money as Mandy Matney made, I'll tell you that much. She was a producer on the Hulu miniseries, and her Luna Shark Media company, I'm sure, is incredibly lucrative. Mandy Matney was never charged with any crimes. She was never criminally charged with anything, as opposed to Aiden Carney, who, for his reporting, has been criminally charged with something like initially 16 felonies for felony witness intimidation and picketing. And it's just the difference in the way that a journalist is being treated in another state. I don't know if she did anything that could have been criminally prosecuted. But if you watch the miniseries, and like, I know that's not real life, but the Murdaugh family was pretty upset about the things that she was doing. Maybe their feelings were hurt too, similar to the alleged victims in the Aiden Carney felony witness intimidation cases.
Love that that's so important to you and Eric and to Liz Farrell, your colleague. You all three co-host Cup of Justice, and I love that you're so victim-centered and really care about the people at the center of these stories. And in this one, Maggie and Paul and all of the other people victimized by the financial crimes, so many, we've lost count. Mandy, what was it like going back to those early moments? I mean, I'm talking before people across the nation didn't hear about Alex Murdaugh, but you felt something was wrong. What was it that made you want to dig in?
I'll never forget the initial morning when we found out that Mallory Beach, or at that point, her body was missing and that she was at least hurt in the crash and missing. And we heard that morning there's going to be corruption in this boat crash case. There's going to be a cover-up. You guys have to cover it. We heard from people saying that over and over again in Hampton. And then they started talking about, do you know about Gloria Satterfield? Do you know about this? Do you know about that? And I just couldn't stop. I was always a little bit obsessed with true crimes and true crime documentaries and podcasts and things. And this was unlike anything I had ever heard before as a journalist. And not only that, but I felt like it was my purpose as a journalist to expose a story like this. If we don't stand up to corruption, what are we doing?
I have so much respect for you, Mandy. You're absolutely right. And you also do the True Sunlight podcast now. And Eric, you also do the Good Skill podcast. You all are podcasting pros. Eric, tell me, what was it that got you all together, you and Mandy and Liz, when you decided, okay, we need to do Cup of Justice?
I think it was like minds always is the first thing, but we have this focus in our careers on being victim centered. For me, I hate bullies. I hate clients that are mistreated. And I've spent, the better part of 38 years bringing claims against attorneys who have mistreated their clients, either stolen money from them or acted in a conflict of interest. I think clients often are lost when it comes to attorneys, and I just view that the legal profession is a self-policing profession. And so when I see clients that are mistreated, it just absolutely drives me. And I think Mandy has the same ethos for victims of crime. And Liz, of course, is really smart, very witty. And so we decided that because there's just this yearning for true crime in our country right now, true crime documentaries and true crime books and podcasts, it was something that we felt was needed, and we're 127 shows into it and counting.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And you're doing it the right way by talking about these issues with sensitivity in mind to the victims, because as we all know, we don't want anyone re-traumatized in covering the true crime cases that we have. So certainly appreciate that with your podcast. Mandy, let me go back to you for a last question before we have to let you both go for now. With the producing of the show, we know they're still in the midst of production. You visited the set. How much consulting did they do with you, if any, in terms of accuracy and the work that you did on the ground and the formation of their scripts for the program?
Oh, and years of fact checking, and this has all been years in the making. I mean, we've had a whole team, and we are still fact checking scripts to this day. Pretty much every day I get a question from somebody related to the show. What happened when Alex did this in 2019, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of this, thankfully, is in my memory that is just stored with Murdaugh stuff, unfortunately. And as now I have a place to put it. So I'm really excited to, again, it's just absolutely surreal seeing the footprint of how big this show is. And yesterday I saw a sea of extras and a sea of crew members. And it's just pretty incredible that all of this is based off the work that my husband and I, a little podcast that my husband and I started at our kitchen table. And I've talked to Brittany about this to a great extent. We really want to inspire women to be a journalist like me and do the hard thing and stand up to corruption and fight the good fight. And I think that this show will do all of those things. And I'm really excited and grateful to have this opportunity.
That's so awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing it. And I hope we can talk again when it's premiere time. Would love to have you both back.
I know you guys don't like Julie Grant, but that was the only piece that I could find talking about the Hulu miniseries and Mandy Matney's involvement with it. So there's that. As you know, Alex Murdaugh has been granted a new trial, and his new trial is going to be starting in April of 2027. Alex Murdaugh is getting a new trial because of the jury tampering of Becky Hill, the court clerk of Colleton County. We've been following this for a long time. Although I didn't have a YouTube channel during the first trial of Alex Murdaugh, I have one now. And you can bet that we will be covering that one gavel to gavel. So back to the reason that Mandy Matney was sanctioned. The original wrongful death lawsuit by the estate of Mallory Beach, her family, against Paul Murdaugh and Parker's. Parker's is a convenience store where it is alleged that the underage Paul Murdaugh bought beer or some sort of alcohol before the crash. The original lawsuit settled for something like over $15 million back in July of 2023. But another lawsuit was brought in 2025 by the Beaches and Mallory's brother and sister against Gregory Parker, who is the magnate of Parker's, and some other defendants alleging civil conspiracy and privacy violations. It was alleged that some of the mediation, they went to mediation at one point, and some materials were leaked that caused the family emotional distress. Things like autopsy photos and pictures of their daughter. Hold on, let me just go back to my notes for a second. So this has to do with a leak. This is another reason why Aidan Carney comes to mind as I was falling into the rabbit hole of this Mandy Matney contempt order. The second lawsuit, I don't know if it's the second one, it could be the 10th one for all I know, but this particular lawsuit that she didn't appear for deposition has to do with allegations of a leak, that confidential mediation materials from the original boat crash, including graphic post-mortem photos of Mallory Beach, were improperly leaked and disclosed to the public and the media despite a strict confidentiality order. Mandy Matney is not a party to the lawsuit. She was never a direct party to the lawsuit, but because she was a prominent investigative journalist covering the entire Murdaugh dynasty and all of the financial crimes and the boat crash and the criminal trial, the defense attorneys for Greg Parker subpoenaed Mandy as a non-party witness for this particular civil conspiracy case. And they're arguing that because of her aggressive coverage and inside sources, that she might know who it is that leaked the sensitive materials and photographs. Mandy Matney spent months and tons of money fighting the subpoena to come for a deposition, motions to quash, motions saying that she was a journalist. She shouldn't have to come in. She doesn't have to reveal her sources, and that she doesn't have any relevant information. And the judge denied all those motions. Keith Kelly is his name. And said, you're going to have to come for a deposition. And the deposition was noticed for March 27th, 2026 at a law office in Bluffton, South Carolina. That's why they wanted her to come in and testify. Let's go directly to the judge's ruling, because it's important to read the ruling. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about this, but I don't think they've read the judge's order. So let's read the judge's order, because that's what we do here. We read legal pleadings and then we talk about them. So settle in, because it's a long one. I think the point is you can't just blow off a court order to appear for a deposition and make the deposition where you want it to be and expect that you're not going to be sanctioned for it. Listen, we're watching a lot of this happen in the Karen Read civil cases. The O'Keeffes have brought a wrongful death action against Karen Read, alleging that she killed John O'Keefe with her car, similar to the Beaches bringing a wrongful death case against Paul Murdaugh for driving the boat for the accident in which their daughter was killed, and also suing a dram shop action against the convenience store that sold him the beer or the alcohol, just like the O'Keeffes are suing Karen Read and the bars, right? And the theory against the bars is they sold her the alcohol that made her drunk, and her drunk driving is what caused the death of John O'Keefe. The difference is that the boat crash really happened. That's the difference. There may have been a question about whether Paul Murdaugh was actually the one driving, but because he was murdered, nobody's ever going to know. And remember, Alex Murdaugh went to the hospital, tried to get all the kids, flashing his badge around, trying to get all the kids to not talk to the law enforcement and things like that. So it's similar and it's different. And people are pointing out that, yeah, but Mandy Matney was on the side of the prosecution. So of course they're not going to come for her, right? Turtle Boy's not on the side of the prosecution. So of course they're going to come for him. And people are saying that the corruption in South Carolina is just as bad, if not worse, as Massachusetts. So let's take a look at the judge's order. This dropped on the 13th. Today is the 17th. So it's relatively new news. We haven't really covered it yet, except for a little blurb on another show in which I said, you guys want to cover it? And you said, hell yeah. So here we are. This is the judge's order granting Parker's defendants motion for contempt. So here you can see the caption: Renee Beach, Philip Beach, Robin Beach, Savannah Tootin, Seth Tootin. These are family members of Mallory Beach against Gregory Parker, DBA, Parker's Corporation, Blake Greco, Jason DeCruz, Vicky Ward, Matt Frodoti, Henry Rosado, and Private Investigation Services Group. These are the people that they are alleging leaked these sensitive materials from the mediation. Parker's subpoenaed Mandy Matney to come in and give a deposition, thinking that she probably knew who leaked it. She refused to show up. And here is the order. Although she did show up something like 10 days later, it didn't matter. This is kind of like a bombshell ruling. This is a ruling against an independent journalist, a podcaster, a YouTuber for not showing up when they're not even a party to the litigation. And is this going to be the wave of the future? Let's read the decision. This matter comes before the court upon the motion for rule to show cause filed by defendants Gregory Parker, etc., regarding the failure of non-party Mandy Matney to appear for her notice deposition on March 27th of 2026. It's a relatively fast decision because there were 2 days of hearings also where she had to testify about why she didn't show up. And I don't know if those hearings are televised because I couldn't find them, but it may be on a random channel. I didn't see them anywhere. Does anybody know if there was media in the hearings about this? Because they'd be interesting to watch. The Parker's defendants request that the court hold Ms. Matney in contempt pursuant to Rule 45E, SRCP, South Carolina Rules of Civil Procedure, and award appropriate sanctions, including reasonable expenses and attorney's fees. Footnote 1, which reads, the Parker's defendants also sought an order compelling Ms. Matney to attend a deposition and an extension of time within which to complete discovery. Ms. Matney was deposed on April 8th of 2026. And that's interesting. So they filed their motion for contempt and sanctions against her prior to the date that she was actually deposed, and they didn't withdraw their motion. A lot of defendants would have withdrawn their motion because she finally did appear, but in this case, they did not. And so the judge is now ruling on it. On April 1st, 2026, after the motion was fully briefed, the court scheduled an evidentiary hearing for April 7th, 2026, and required Ms. Matney to appear in person. The parties were advised to contact the court if they had any concerns or questions regarding this matter or the hearing. At the hearing, sworn testimony was taken from Ms. Matney and attorney Mark Tinsley. After carefully considering the motion, Ms. Matney's response and supplemental response, the record, the arguments of counsel, and the testimony presented, the court granted the Parker defendants' motion for a rule to show cause and ordered Ms. Matney to appear at a hearing on May 15th of 2026 for her to show cause, if she could, as to why she should not be held in contempt. In New York, we call it an order to show cause. It seems like they call it something similar, but not exactly an order to show cause, a motion for a rule to show cause. An order to show cause is requiring whoever it is that you want to show cause to come into court and explain why it is that they couldn't do something. Come in and explain to the court why you didn't do this, or why the judge should rule a certain way. At the May 15th, 2026 hearing, Ms. Matney testified and presented evidence as to why she should not be held in contempt. At the end of the day, the May 15th hearing was recessed and continued on June 22nd, 2026, with Ms. Matney's cross-examination and the testimony of two witnesses, attorney Eric Bland and Ms. Matney's husband, David Moses. I think her husband is her co-owner in her media company, Luna Shark Media. At the end of the hearing, the court took the matter under advisement. Also of note is that Mark Tinsley is the plaintiff's lawyer in the underlying lawsuit of the Beaches against Parker's and all the other defendants for this civil conspiracy / outrage. That's the cause of action. Civil conspiracy outrage. At the end of the hearing, the court took the matter under advisement. Under advisement just means I'm not going to tell you my decision right now, but I'll issue a written decision sometime later. Background procedural history. On October 17th of 2025, the Parker's defendants served Ms. Matney with a subpoena ducis tecum. That means also we want documents from you, which noticed her for a deposition for October 29th, 2025 at a law firm in Bluffton, South Carolina. After Ms. Matney objected on November 5th, 2025, the Parker's defendants noticed another deposition at the same location for November 17th of 2025. On November 12th of 2025, Ms. Matney filed a motion to quash, or alternatively, for a protective order. Ms. Matney argued that she was shielded by the reporter's privilege codified in the South Carolina Code. The deposition was an undue burden. We've heard a lot about undue burdens lately under Rule 45, and her testimony lacked relevance. She did not raise any concerns with location of the notice deposition. On November 25th, 2025, Ms. Matney filed an affidavit in which she averred that she moved to quash the subpoena because she was not available on the requested date. Her testimony would require her to divulge information protected by the reporter's privilege, and the subpoena imposed an undue burden on her. She explained that she and her husband produced 2 weekly podcasts and are executive producers on a Hulu series, which required travel, and any interruption would negatively affect her household finances. She also averred that she did not have any relevant information in this case, and the deposition was part of the Parker defendants' goal to harass and humiliate her. The court held a hearing on November 26, 2025, and took the motion under advisement. On February 5th of 2026, the court denied Ms. Matney's motion to quash and her alternative motion for a protective order. The court concluded that the reporter's privilege did not provide blanket protection from being deposed. Ms. Matney's testimony was relevant, and she had failed to establish an undue burden. On February 10th of 2026, counsel for the Parker's defendants emailed counsel for Ms. Matney a subpoena for her deposition on March 2nd, 2026, again listing the same location as noticed in the previous subpoenas. On February 17th of 2026, Ms. Matney filed a motion to reconsider. I've seen a lot of those motions lately too. Motion to reconsider. Ms. Matney again argued that she was entitled to protection under the reporter's privilege. The deposition would impose an undue burden, and that she was subject to unusual harassment related to this litigation. Okay, so the first time she brings up this harassment is in February. Remember, they've been trying to get her deposition since October. She again did not raise any concerns with the location of the notice deposition. On February 18th of 2026, counsel for Ms. Matney responded to the February 10th email confirming acceptance of the second subpoena and raised no objection as to the location listed in the second subpoena. Counsel indicated that she was not available on March 2nd, 2026, or certain other dates in March, but she identified no conflict with the week of March 13th of 2026. On February 19th of 2026, counsel for the Parker's defendants agreed to change the deposition date to March 23rd of 2026. Accordingly, on February 24th of 2026, counsel for the Parker's defendants served another subpoena that amended the date to March 23rd, listing the same location as the previous subpoena, or subpoenas. On March 8th of 2026, counsel for Ms. Matney informed the Parker's defendants that because her motion to reconsider remained pending, she did not intend to appear for a deposition on March 23rd. Again, counsel raised no objection to the notice location. On March 11th, 2026, Ms. Matney's counsel requested that no deposition date be scheduled until the court ruled on her pending motion to reconsider. Counsel further indicated that she was unavailable on March 23rd, 2026, due to a federal court hearing that had just been scheduled, but was available on March 27th of 2026. Again, counsel for Ms. Matney raised no objection as to the location listed in all of the subpoenas to date. On March 12th, 2026, the court's law clerk asked the parties to provide the court with a scheduling agreement outlining the selected date that the deposition would occur. The next day, counsel for the Parker's defendants sent a proposed scheduling agreement to Ms. Matney's counsel. Counsel for the Parker's defendants also offered to conduct the deposition at either the Bluffton location previously identified in all of the subpoenas or the law office of Maynard Nexon in Columbia, South Carolina. On March 16th, 2026, the court denied Ms. Matney's motion for reconsideration, finding that she failed to present any newly discovered evidence, manifest errors of law or fact, or an intervening change in controlling law that would warrant relief under 59E of the South Carolina Rules of Civil Procedure. So that is what is required in South Carolina in order To get a court to reconsider a prior ruling, you have to either show newly discovered evidence, manifest errors of law or fact, or an intervening change in the law that would warrant relief. She was not able to prove any of those things according to this court, and so they denied her motion to reconsider. The court ordered that she be deposed within 14 days from the entry of the order. On March 17th, 2026, the Parker's defendants noticed Ms. Matney's deposition for March 27th, 2026 at the same location in Bluffton as the previous subpoenas. On March 19th, 2026, having not heard from Ms. Matney's counsel, Parker's defendants counsel contacted Ms. Matney's counsel to confirm March 27th as the date for the deposition, as had been previously agreed. The next day, on March 20th, 2026, Ms. Matney's counsel responded by stating that Ms. Matney would not appear at the noticed location and would only agree to be deposed at another location in Bluffton, the office of her lawyer, Meredith Bannon. Ms. Matney claimed through counsel that she felt unsafe at the noticed location, a known and well-regarded law firm in Bluffton. March 20th, 2026, less than a week before her deposition was scheduled to occur, was the first time Ms. Matney, through her counsel, objected to the location that had been identified for months. Again, it's like, it seems like the lawyers are taking this really personally. Like, if she was just like, oh, I feel better going to my lawyer's office, she's entitled to be represented by counsel as a non-party at a deposition. Okay, we've seen that. I think Brian Higgins recently showed up with his attorney for his deposition. He was a non-party. Proctor, as we know, showed up with his lawyer for his deposition. And he was photographed in the hallway of a large office building, allegedly having a panic attack. Oh, please. She says that I think her argument here, and they don't really get into it, I don't think, too much in this decision, but she says she was being stalked by some other true crime YouTuber. We're going to look at her posts, Mandy Matney's posts after this, and she explains it a little bit better. But right now, let's just stick to what the judge says in his opinion. It seems like, to me, if I really wanted to depose her and she really felt more comfortable in her lawyer's office and it's in the same town, it's in Bluffton too, I would have said, all right, fine, we'll do it there. I mean, really, it's a matter of rescheduling the court reporter over there and the videographer, whoever you're having to do the deposition. But apparently, for whatever reason, Parker's lawyers did not want to do that. And there's no requirement that they do. But it's like, you're a lawyer, you're a defense attorney. You've been doing this for a long time. You have to deal with the same lawyers all the time, the same plaintiff's attorneys. I'm sure he's got other cases with Meredith Bannon. I'm sure he's got other cases with Mark Tinsley. It's like, you just grant courtesies to each other. But for whatever reason, they didn't want to do that. And here we are. Oh, please. On March 21st, 2026, the Parker's defendants responded and offered to move the deposition to the Maynard Nexon law firm in Columbia, which is located in a building with security or a hotel conference room in Bluffton. Ms. Matney rejected both of these alternate locations and insisted that she be deposed at Ms. Bannon's law firm. Ms. Matney also insisted that her husband, a non-party, be allowed to attend her deposition. That is never allowed. That is never allowed. The only people allowed in the room at a deposition are attorneys who represent parties and the actual parties themselves. You can't have your friend or your husband or your loved one sit in on your deposition. It's just improper. Ms. Matney failed to offer a location suitable to the Parker defendants, so the Parker defendants insisted that she appear at the place and time noticed in the subpoena. Footnote 2, which reads, Ms. Matney did not offer a location for her deposition at any place other than the Bannon law firm in Bluffton prior to her failure to appear at notice location on March 27th, 2026. After the Parker's defendants filed their motion for rule to show cause, Ms. Matney ultimately offered to appear at other locations outside the Bluffton area. One, the law office of her podcaster collaborator, Eric Bland, in Lexington, South Carolina. 2, Ms. Lindahl's office in Charlotte. 3, the Beaufort County Courthouse. Is it Beaufort or Beaufort? Or 4, the other Bannon law firm locations in the Savannah and Charleston areas. Paragraph 17. On March 25th of 2026, less than 36 hours before the scheduled deposition, Ms. Matney filed an emergency motion to set deposition location. 36 hours before the deposition. The Parker's defendants filed a response opposing the emergency motion on March 26, 2026. Okay, so when we get to the part about how much the attorney's fees that they're asking for are, and I think there's something like 3 different law firms, just keep in mind all of these motions that were filed, all of these motions that had to be responded to. As I tell you all the time, lawyers bill for 1/10 of an hour. So every 6 minutes you're getting a bill. That's the least amount of time you can be billed for. You can be billed for every 6 minutes is 1/10 of an hour. So if your lawyer bills, let's say in South Carolina, I don't know, $1,000 an hour, do the math. You're paying $100 every 6 minutes. On March 27th, at the scheduled time, Ms. Matney did not appear at the deposition at the notice location in Bluffton. Instead, she informed the Parker's defendants via Zoom that she was located at the Bannon law firm in Bluffton, and there she would remain alongside her husband, as well as plaintiff's counsel, who also appeared at the office of the Bannon law firm in Bluffton. This sounds very familiar also, right? Remember Colin Albert showing up for a deposition. Defense counsel didn't show up because they're like, yeah, that's not our deposition that we noticed. And then Mark Diller, this is, of course, everything leads back to the Karen Reed debacle. Mark Diller took Colin Albert's deposition and the defendants didn't. And he's still going to have to come for another deposition despite the fact that he joined the army like Conrad Birdie to try and get out of it, maybe. Buford. It's Buford. Thank you. Oh, Sheila. Buford. Thanks, Bo. Oops. Counsel for the Parker's defendants informed Ms. Matney that they would remain at the ordered location until 11 a.m. And then if Ms. Matney did not appear, they would pursue all remedies available. Ms. Matney and her counsel, along with plaintiff's counsel, elected to remain at the other location and not appear at the notice location. The only difference here is that they didn't do her deposition. Because remember, the plaintiff has a right. Plaintiff's counsel, Mark Tinsley, has a right to depose her as well. She's a non-party here. At 3 p.m. on March 27th, 2026, Ms. Matney filed a status update on emergency motion to set deposition location, wherein she relayed that she had appeared at the deposition location that she had arranged with private security and waited until noon. Ms. Matney's okay, so then they're going to get into her social media posts, and I think this is kind of what really pissed the judge off. And you're going to notice, and we're seeing it with Judge Gilday, that judges of a certain age, and I don't know how old this judge is or whether he understands social media, but they don't like it. They don't like people posting on social media. They don't like things being disseminated by social media, and they need to understand that this is the new mainstream. It's the new mainstream. A lot of people don't watch mainstream news channels anymore. A lot of people get their information from such places as YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, Facebook. And they don't watch television anymore. And a lot of people do not read newspapers anymore. Right? I know it's called X now, but I'm going to call it Twitter forever because I just can't. Ms. Matney's social media post later that same day, footnote 3, says these social media posts were absent from Ms. Matney's status update, but attached as exhibits to the filings submitted by the Parker defendants. Okay, so when she filed her status update to the emergency motion to change the location of the deposition, to set the deposition location, she did not, obviously, attach any of her social media postings, but the defendants did. And here's what they showed. including pictures of her eating lemon pound cake with plaintiff's lead counsel after the attempted deposition was adjourned. I mean, is that a nod to Afro Man? We have a lemon pound cake for that specifically. Mama's lemon pound cake, because Afro Man has become the face of the First Amendment in 2026, and it's the arc of 2026 that I didn't know that I was waiting for. Did you?
You're welcome.
So they're saying that she posted pictures of herself eating lemon pound cake with Mark Tinsley after the attempted deposition was adjourned and toasting herself with a beverage at an outdoor location. I haven't seen those posts, so I don't know what they show. She also posted pictures of herself, her counsel, and her husband having what appears to be a celebratory meal outing in Savannah. And this is where the judge, I think, thought that this was a big middle finger to the court. A big middle finger to the court. Let me know what you think. The court observes that Ms. Matney's posts memorializing these activities evidence her intent to defy her obligation to appear at the notice deposition location. Listen, I am a big fan of, and Mandy Matney, I guess she's young. She's like in her 30s, right? I'm just going to say this as a generalization to all younger folks who use social media to post their whereabouts constantly. Not everybody needs to know where you are all the time. I would submit to you, don't ever post where you are right now. Post things about where you've been, maybe, if you feel the need to do that. But I will tell you, okay, having been a civil litigator, a plaintiff's lawyer for over 30 years, now retired in New York, that Facebook has been screwing plaintiffs for at least a decade. Because plaintiffs would come into their deposition and testify, oh, I was in a bad pedestrian accident. I was hit by a car. And ever since I was hit by that car, I had knee surgery and my life has been changed and it hurts all the time. I can't ski anymore. I can't jog anymore. I can't take out the garbage anymore. And what does the defense team do? Because usually it's an insurance company on the other side. They've got PIs on retainer. They've got investigators on speed dial, and they will invariably go out and get video of you taking out the garbage. And they comb through your social media and they'll find some pictures of you in Park City skiing at the top of the mountain from, 3 months ago. And then your case is over. It's done. Your case is over. Yes. And here's James Day. He's a civil defense lawyer. He says it's amazing what people post on social media versus what allegations are, right? And the case is over at that point because the plaintiff has already lied under oath at their deposition. I can't ski anymore. I used to ski every winter. And then the defense attorney pulls out the Facebook pictures, from 3 months ago of you, skiing the double black diamonds in Park City. And your case is done. Get out. Say goodbye. You get nothing. Good day, sir. Oh, please. It's wild. You got to tell your clients to delete all their social media. Just don't do it. And to me, this is what pissed off the court the most. Patty says she wants the deposition at her attorney's office because of stalking, and yet she's posting to social media where she is at all times. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and here comes the Orlando sober hipster. She says, we got footage of a plaintiff with a back injury surfing. Right. They do this in workers' comp cases too. People who are out on total disability for life. And then it turns out that they prove that it's a fraudulent claim because the guy is out surfing every weekend. Or, lifting, bench pressing 300 pounds at the Planet Fitness. Like it happens and their cases are done. And there can be criminal charges for that too. All of it, not just Facebook. OnlyFans, really, James? You use OnlyFans at depositions? YouTube, Snapchat stories, etc. Right. And listen, they've got teams that's their only job is to discredit plaintiffs. It's a thing. It's a thing, right? All right. Yeah, people say they were surveilled. Look, this person Tatted Titi says, I was surveilled and I had no idea. They're good. They're good at what they do. They're good at what they do. They've got excellent equipment, and they can get you doing stuff from a pretty far away, pretty long distance, right? PIs don't just try and catch people who are having affairs. They do this kind of work too. All right. The court observes that Ms. Matney's post memorializing these activities evidence her intent to defy her obligation to appear at the notice deposition location. And there you go. She was defiant in the judge's opinion. He's telling us everything right here. Her intent to defy, he didn't like it. I'm the judge. How dare you defy me? How dare you? I'll show you. I'm going to hit you where it hurts. In the pocketbook. In a Form 4 order filed on March 30th, 2026, the court denied Ms. Matney's emergency motion, explaining that emergency motions are generally disfavored and that emergency relief is not to be provided to the dilatory. Ooh. Here's a $10 word. Footnote 4, which reads, the order was not docketed until March 30th of 2026. So remember, that was a couple days after the day of the deposition, which was the 27th. And also, you can let me know, lawyers in the chat, James, how you feel about doing depositions over Zoom. I don't want to do a deposition over Zoom. I want the person in the room that I'm questioning. You don't know who's sitting behind them, who's feeding them answers off screen, if they're cheating by they having something else up on their screen. Hell to the no. I want depositions in person. Always. That's why I would never agree to depose Colin Albert, from a JAG office somewhere over Zoom. I just wouldn't do it. The court noted that the parties have had nearly 5 months since the first notice of this deposition to agree on a location, and Ms. Matney sought to raise this issue less than 1 week prior to the scheduled deposition. On March 30th of 2026, the Parkers defendants filed the instant motion for a rule to show cause, seeking to hold Ms. Matney in contempt and compelling her attendance at an in-person videotaped deposition. Okay, so 3 days later, March 30th, is when they filed this new motion. And again, all of these things cost money. People are blown away by the attorney's fees here, but as a lawyer, granted, everything I ever handled was on contingency, but I've seen lawyer bills. You get billed every month, and I have friends who bill, and they have a certain number of hours that they have to bill every month is a requirement by the firms that they work for. And these bills are astronomical. Astronomical. On April 4th, 2026, Ms. Matney filed a response opposing the motion and an affidavit from her podcast host, Elizabeth Farrell, on April 6, 2026. As noted above, on April 7th, 2026, the court conducted a hearing at which testimony was taken, including from Ms. Matney, who testified that she made the decision not to go to the notice deposition location and that she was not physically unable to appear there. Okay, so again, the judge doesn't seem to like that. She, of her own free will, just decided to defy the court and not come. And it wasn't because of a physical disability that she couldn't make it there. The court directed that Ms. Matney appear the following day for an in-person deposition at the Spartanburg County Courthouse. Footnote 5, which reads, the court also rejected Ms. Matney's request that her husband, the co-owner of her media business, be allowed to attend her deposition. Like I said, it's just not done. On April 30th of 2026, the court granted the Parker defendants' motion for a rule to show cause and ordered Ms. Matney to appear on May 15th, 2026 to show cause, if she could, as to why she should not be held in contempt for willfully failing to comply with a duly issued subpoena requiring her to appear for a deposition on March 27th, 2026 at the notice location and the March 16th, 2026 order of the court. And remember, by this point, she already did give her deposition because she gave it on April 8th. On May 13th, 2026, Ms. Matney filed an objection to non-sworn contempt motion in which she objected to the contempt motion being heard at all on May 15th, arguing that the Parker's defendant's contempt petition was not verified or accompanied by an affidavit, which she contended to be a fatal defect that could not be cured. Parker's defendants responded, citing State v. Nathans for the proposition that the affidavit requirement can be waived or met through substantial compliance. Sounds like a screw up. At the end of the hearing on June 22nd, 2026, the court ruled from the bench, now they ruled from the bench, that it had issued the order to show cause based on Ms. Matney's sworn testimony at the April 7th, 2026 hearing, where she acknowledged that she did not attend the deposition at the notice location. As the court held in Nathans, there was no risk of any false allegations of conduct being used to support the issuance of a rule to show cause. Additionally, Ms. Matney waived this issue as she failed to raise it during the April 7th hearing, during which the court noted that the hearing was to determine if, I'm just going to call it, an order to show cause should issue. A hearing was held on May 15th, 2026 and continued on June 22nd, 2026, during which Ms. Matney presented evidence and witnesses, and the court took the matter under advisement. Let's go to the chat for a minute. She just didn't feel like going. Well, she says that she was being stalked and she didn't think it was safe. But she said she also showed up at her lawyer's office with private security. Christine Mitchell says, thanks for everything you do. I love you with all of my heart. Right back. Thank you for tuning in from across the pond. And Lieber Robin says she's Brittany Snow to me now. I know, me too. I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it. Brittany Snow also in another great show called the what's it called? Hunting Wives. Did you guys watch Hunting Wives? Oh my. The wigs in the Hunting Wives were everything. If that's the name of it, I forget the name now. The CFB Playoff says she was on the same side of law enforcement, not opposed. No real correlation to Turtle Boy. It's a journalist being prosecuted by a judge because the judge doesn't like what the journalist is doing. And so that's the way I'm looking at this. And I'm reading the order so that you can see why. And the same thing is going on with Turtle Boy and now the civil side of things. The judge is dragging all the attorneys into court and having them file affidavits that they didn't leak Proctor's private medical information based on a tweet with the wrong timestamp on it that Turtle Boy tweeted. So he's actually telling everyone, all of us and everyone, that he thinks that Turtle Boy got a hold of a leak from Karen Reed's team, just like they're alleging in the defamation case against Turtle Boy and Karen Reed. And then doubles down and says, okay, it really wasn't that tweet from June 8th. It was another tweet on the same day as Proctor's deposition about him having a panic attack. So he must have been leaked information about what was going on inside the deposition room. See what I'm saying? Salty Mom says, work days without you are so long. Thanks for being here for 13 months. It's my pleasure to keep you company at work today. Tracy V says, yay, one more month until I get the new cupcake. I love all your coverage, Melanie. Oh, look, you're here for 23 months. Yep. It turns over to the pink top with the blue bottom at 2 years. Thanks for being an OG. Karen says, haha, my brother-in-law worked for SS, and that's what he did all day long. He would laugh at the stuff people put on social media. Enjoying my Friday on the lake jet ski with you in my ear. Thanks. Do you have like earbuds that are waterproof? You're not afraid that you're gonna like lose them in the water when you fall off your jet ski? I mean, if you fall off your jet ski, like you could get caught in a wake or something. I'm so happy for you that you're enjoying the lake today. Finally, the smoke has cleared here. It has been so smoky. My eyes have been burning for the past 3 or 4 days because of the wildfires in Canada, and all the smoke came down to Long Island, and it's been really, really bad. The air quality has been really poor, but today we finally have blue skies. Nothing but blue skies. Legal standard. The power to punish for contempt is inherent in all courts, citing a whole bunch of cases. The trial court's power includes the ability to maintain order and decorum of the court. The power is essential to the enforcement of the judgments, orders, and writs of the courts, and consequently to the due administration of justice. Without such power, the administration of the law would be in continual danger of being thwarted by the lawless. Contempt results from the willful disobedience of an order of the court. A willful act is one which is done voluntarily and intentionally with the specific intent to do something the law forbids, or with the specific intent to fail to do something the law requires to be done. What have we been hearing from Judge Gilday? Subpoenas need to mean something. Failure by any person without adequate excuse to obey a subpoena served upon that person may be deemed a contempt of the court from which the subpoena issued. Civil contempt must be proven by clear and convincing evidence. Once the moving party has made out a prima facie case, the burden then shifts to the respondent to establish his or her defense and an inability to comply with the order. The determination of contempt ordinarily rests within the sound discretion of the circuit court. Courts, by exercising their contempt power, can award attorney's fees under a compensatory contempt theory, citing a case called Miller, which is from 2001. In a civil contempt proceeding, a contemner may be required to reimburse the complainant for the costs he incurred in enforcing the court's prior order, including reasonable attorney's fees. The award of attorney's fees is not a punishment, but an indemnification to the party who instituted the contempt proceeding. So, like, you got to pay them back for all the work that it took to get you to show up to abide by the court order that you should have obeyed in the first place. Thus, the court is not required to provide the contemptor with an opportunity to purge himself of these attorney's fees in order to hold him in civil contempt. Analysis. Courts have no more important function to perform in the administration of justice than to ensure that their orders are obeyed. The appellate courts of this state have zealously defended the rights of trial court to vindicate their authority by way of contempt. The court must maintain order and decorum, and the power of contempt is essential to the enforcement of orders and to ensure the administration of justice. Without such power, the administration of the law would be in continual danger of being thwarted by the lawless. 1. Ms. Matney was required by a valid subpoena to be deposed on March 27th, 2026 at the notice location and within the time limit set by the March 26, 2026 order. Within certain parameters, the rules generally permit the party noticing the deposition to pick the deposition location. That is true. If you're the one noticing the deposition, usually you want it in your own office because it's just easier. It's just easier. A party who wants to depose a person by oral questions must give reasonable written notice to every other party. The notice must state the time and place of the deposition. That is citing the Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 30B. Footnote 6, which reads, in the absence of state precedent, South Carolina courts look to federal interpretations of similar procedural rules for persuasive guidance. In construing the South Carolina Rules of Civil Procedure, our court looks for guidance to cases interpreting the federal rules. Okay, so there's no South Carolina case about this. This has never happened before. There's never been a case about who picks the deposition location in a civil case. Okay. If a deponent, I guess everybody just shows up. If a deponent wishes to be deposed at a different location, it is incumbent upon her to secure either an agreement with the noticing party or to seek a protective order from the court requiring that the deposition be held in a different location. Here is a South Carolina case from 2011 holding expert witness was required to appear in South Carolina for a deposition absent agreement, a court order overriding location requirement. And that has to do with obviously an out-of-state expert. Oh, please. Yeah, I heard that. I mean, I saw a clip of Matt Damon. Was that this morning on Live with Kelly Ripa? I didn't know how old that clip was. And he says he's in the very early stages of producing a movie on Karen Reed. But I looked on his IMDb Pro and I didn't see anything there that says anything in development having to do with Karen Reed. So I don't know if that's when that's from. It was this morning? Well, that's pretty cool. I guess Matt Damon's involved. I wonder who else is involved with him. That's why I looked it up to find out. Okay. The Parker's defendants as the noticing party chose a law firm in Bluffton, the same location which was noticed on the first subpoena, served on Ms. Matney on October 17th, 2025, and in every subsequent subpoena. Footnote 7, which reads, prior to Ms. Matney raising any issues with the noticed location, the Parker's defendants offered an alternative location in Columbia, which she declined. Further, it is undisputed that no order of this court stayed, modified, or excused Ms. Matney's obligation to appear for her deposition at the noticed location on March 27th. At the April 7th, 2026 hearing, Ms. Matney testified that she received and understood the court's orders denying her motion to quash and motion to reconsider, and understood that as a result, she was required to sit for a deposition at the noticed location. I believe the judge is going to hold that against her too. So you understood that you were supposed to appear? You know that your motions to quash and to reconsider were denied, and yet you just didn't show up anyway? Just not liking that. Ms. Matney did not raise any objection to the deposition location in her original motion to quash or her motion to reconsider, and she acknowledged that in her earlier affidavit, she did not identify any safety concerns about the notice location as a basis for relief. It was not until March 20th, 4 days before her motion to reconsideration had been denied, and less than 1 week before the scheduled deposition, that Ms. Matney for the first time raised any issue to the Parker's defendants with the notice location and demanded that the deposition be moved to a location of her choosing, citing safety concerns. I think she was probably arguing in the earlier motions that she shouldn't have to appear at all, and she didn't want to give the alternative or relief, like, if I do appear, I don't want to appear there because I have a stalker. That's what she says, right? That she has a stalker. Citing Parker defendants' motion and the letter from Ms. Matney's counsel, footnote 8, which reads, in her emergency motion, while Ms. Matney argued that her primary concern was security due to persistent harassment, she also raised an issue with the size of the notice location and that it had only one bathroom. Ms. Matney subsequently argued that her concern was that the bathroom was shared and open to anyone and thus presented a reasonable security risk. Mr. Tinsley, however, testified at the April 7th hearing that the bathroom was locked and required a code. In any event, the court finds that Ms. Matney's stated concerns regarding the size of the notice deposition location and its bathrooms do not constitute good cause for her failure to appear for the noticed deposition. I mean, does she have Crohn's or something? Or she was just afraid that the stalker would be able to get into the bathroom? I'm not really sure. On March 26, Ms. Matney filed an emergency motion to set deposition location, notwithstanding the absence of any such order, and her understanding that the prior orders required her to sit for the notice deposition. Ms. Matney testified that she believed she was not required to appear at the notice location because she had filed this emergency motion. Sherry says, I live in South Carolina and I'm so over Mandy Matney. Yeah, I really don't know anything about her other than, to me, she's Brittany Snow, right? To me, she's Brittany Snow. She was an independent journalist who kind of really dug into the Murdaughs and kind of broke the story of the financial crimes and stuff, started a huge podcast company. And so I really don't have any feelings about her one way or another, but I'm curious. I want to take your temperature on you guys in the chat. Carrie says, imagine you have to show up places if there isn't a bathroom to your satisfaction, is where I think you were going with that. Virtual Juror says, I've been a listener, supporter, and follower of Mandy and Liz for years. I've been with Mandy since the start of MMP in 2021. I cannot believe this judgment. Well, let me know this, Virtual Juror, because you're here all the time. Do you think that she should have just shown up to where she was supposed to be, and that would have, prevented all of this mishigas? Or do you think that she wanted to have it? I don't know what just happened there, but another StreamYard issue, as always. Let's put this back on the stage. What happened? Did I just go off the screen for a second? Show up and get it sorted out. Okay, again, with the stuff going off the stream. Hello, StreamYard. Do you know if anybody else is having StreamYard issues today? Tiff is like, I have absolutely no idea who she is. Did you watch the Hulu miniseries on the Murdaughs? What? I don't know. I feel like it has something to do with my mouse pad. It's the paranormal activity. Mercury is in retrograde until the 23rd. Yep. Again, it just did it again. It has to do with my mouse pad. I'm sure of it. All right. Guess I can't. It's like they're screwing with me now. The gods are coming for me. Let's see. I'm on the Ethernet. YouTube had known issues the other day, so it was definitely YouTube. Son of a glitch. Good one, Mitchell. Okay, here we go. I would allow that. Allie says, I think Melanie should be a consultant for anything regarding Karen Reed because she's the GOAT. There's no comments on Fervent's post about what? There's comments about me being a consultant. I know, Matt Damon, call me. I should totally be a consultant on all the legal. Oh my God, all the legal issues. Hold on a second. I feel like, let me turn off this mouse pad and then turn it back on, maybe. I don't know. That helped the other day. Kim is a ladybug. Thank you so much for your suggestion when I was having all those problems the other day and I couldn't open links and it was saying you are forbidden from looking at this link. She said restart your computer and it totally worked. So thank you. Kim is a ladybug for just telling me the obvious thing to do. And it fixed itself. So that's what I did. And it worked. But now, okay, come back to me. Linz, so when I highlight a comment, then this thing goes off the screen. So I don't know. I followed Mandy Matney from the jump on Murdaugh. Great job. However, her subsequent incessant whining forced me to unsubscribe. I believe she got a touch of the Miss Becky disease. Oh, that's interesting. Char says, I'm not a fangirl either way, but if you're noticed or subpoenaed for a deposition, you show up. You don't get to set the terms. Oh, man. All right. Here we go. Matt Damon, call me. I'm happy to consult. All right. Here we go. However, footnote 9, which reads, the court notes that it is troubled by Ms. Matney's counsel's tolerance and facilitation of her decision to disobey the subpoena and the court's order. So, that tells us even more. It tells us even more. She's represented by counsel and her counsel is encouraging her. She says, just show up to my office and we'll call them and tell them that they need to come here. If she was unrepresented, do you think the court would have decided differently? I do. She was waiting for the ruling and it never came until Monday, right? Come Monday, it'll be all right, as Jimmy Buffett used to say. But you don't just get to do that, though. That's the thing. You know? Dee Dee says she's a mean girl to the max, and it's past time she got knocked off that pedestal. I know, the papers keep going off screen because there's paranormal activities. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah, that's it. Heather says, I'm loving Rosanna Arquette lately. What do you think about, it's Patricia Arquette, actually, that you're thinking of. What do you think about her playing Judge Cannoni? Oh, that would be fantastic. Patricia Arquette has been playing everyone in everything and is amazing. Just like Sarah Paulson has been playing everyone in everything. And I wonder, well, if Matt Damon's involved, I guess Ben Affleck will also be involved. And the casting is going to be interesting. We've done our own casting many times. Let's get through this and then we can move on to other things. However, and so that footnote 9 was about her being represented and her attorney encouraging her not to show up. However, as noted above, if a deponent wishes to be deposed at a different location, she must obtain either an agreement with the non-noticing party or a protective order from the court, changing the deposition location. Filing a motion is not an agreement or a court order and does not relieve a deponent of her obligation to abide by a lawful subpoena. Any other rule would allow deponents to evade being deposed by simply filing a motion at the 11th hour. Thus, the pendency of Ms. Matney's emergency motion did not excuse her from complying with the subpoena and the March 26th court order. So there you go. Just because she filed an emergency order, it doesn't mean she doesn't have to show up. Moreover, as the court noted in its order denying her emergency motion, Ms. Matney had 5 months to raise any issue with the notice location and her delay in raising the issue with the court did not create an emergency. Well, tell me this, those of you who have followed her, this stalker, this alleged stalker, had he been stalking her since in that 5-month period, or did he just start stalking her after that 5 months? I'm curious. Ms. Matney argues that she did not raise the issue sooner because until the motion for reconsideration was denied, it was unsettled as to whether she would have to be deposed at all. Oh, I see. But Ms. Matney did not seek merely to quash the deposition in her prior motion. She raised numerous other issues to the court and sought relief that would only be necessary if she were to be deposed, including that the date of the deposition accommodate her work schedule and that the length and topics of the deposition be limited. There you go. Ms. Matney argues that she has not acted with bad purpose, either to disobey or disregard the law, which is necessary to support the finding of contempt. Where a contemptor is unable, without fault on his part, to obey an order of the court, he is not to be held in contempt. So they're citing a case that says if he's financially unable to comply with the court-ordered subpoena, or if an order requires something that's impossible for a person to follow, then it's not contemptuous if you don't appear. Like, for example, let's say she was in a car accident that morning or something, God forbid, and she couldn't show up because she was in an accident or something, she had a family emergency, that'd be different. And they wouldn't hold her in contempt, but this is different. I think the stalker does have something to do with this case, but we're going to look at her postings after this. The inquiry in determining a willful act for contempt purposes is whether the party has a true choice as to whether to comply with the order. Contumacious, there's a big lawyer word, contumacious behavior, which tends to bring the authority and administration of the court into disrespect, may also support a finding of contempt. When asked directly whether she decided not to go to the notice location, Ms. Matney answered affirmatively, yeah, I decided not to go. Attending the deposition at the notice location was not impossible. Ms. Matney had a true choice. Ms. Matney had the ability to appear for the deposition at the notice location, and she and her counsel chose to appear at a different location willfully and refused to attend the deposition at the notice location. Footnote 10. I also think it's weird that Mark Tinsley, the plaintiff's lawyer, also showed up there. I mean, that's a big middle finger to the court from everyone. Footnote 10. Ms. Matney testified that she had access to transportation, was physically able to attend the deposition, and was neither hospitalized nor physically unable to travel. And G. Jones is saying this judge is just another good old boy. Based upon the foregoing, there's clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Matney's failure to appear was not the result of confusion, mistake, or inability, but rather was a deliberate decision to disregard the subpoena and the court's March 16th, 2026 order requiring that she be deposed within 14 days. 2, Ms. Matney has failed to establish a valid defense or inability to comply with the subpoena and March 16th, 2026 order. Having determined that there is clear and convincing evidence establishing contempt, the court must now determine if Ms. Matney has a valid defense or was unable to comply with the subpoena and March 16th order. Notwithstanding her delay in raising the issue, the court must consider Ms. Matney's stated justification for her failure to appear, that is, her assertion that she did not feel safe at the notice location, to determine if she can establish that she had cause not to appear for her deposition. Ms. Matney's asserted safety concerns were based primarily on the alleged online harassment by one individual. Oh, here it is. We're going to find out who it is. James Seidel, Seidel, who Ms. Matney described as a stalker and a convicted felon. Who dat? I had the lemon pound cake up before, but you know what we can do? We can put the Afro Man cupcake. So here's lemon pound cake. And here's the Afro Man cupcake. Charissa made for us. Okay, James Seidel, who Ms. Matney described as a stalker and a convicted felon. Ms. Matney argued, footnote 11. I don't know who this person is. The court notes that Mr. Seidel was not convicted of a violent offense. He pleaded guilty to misusing a federal loan money during the C-19 pandemic and was sentenced to a 5-year probationary term. Sharmick, I can't See, I put up the comments and then it takes that away. Whatever. It says, I'm sorry, but you have DV victims who have to show up to court and other things with their abuser. They don't get a pass, and neither should she. Interesting. Ms. Matney argued that his social media obsession is subjectively extremely concerning to her and her husband. I don't know what this guy's done, allegedly, but maybe you guys do. Do you guys know who this is? Reviewing the examples Ms. Matney filed with the court, Mr. Seidel's online conduct involved critical comments and what can best be described as mocking or taunting directed at Ms. Matney. Oh, he sounds like a troll. However, none of the posts filed with the court concerning Mr. Seidel contained any physical threats towards her. Further, there is no evidence in the record that Mr. Seidel's purported harassment has been the subject of any criminal prosecution or civil litigation. At the April 7th hearing, Ms. Matney testified that prior to March 27th, she had not filed a police report or obtained a restraining order against Mr. Seidel. Ms. Matney testified that she was in the process of taking out a restraining order against him. However, at the June 22nd hearing, Ms. Matney acknowledged that she had not yet sought or obtained such an order against Mr. Seidel. While she argued in her emergency motion that she has online harassers who show up at her public appearances and court proceeding, I guess that should say proceedings, and send her mail and text messages. At the June 22nd hearing, Ms. Matney acknowledged that the alleged harassment by Mr. Seidel has been entirely online, and Mr. Seidel has not attempted to contact her directly or in person. At this hearing, Mr. Bland likewise testified that he was not aware of Mr. Seidel making any physical threats to Ms. Matney. Ms. Matney has also argued that the Parker's defendants had connections with Mr. Seidel and were disclosing information to him about the deposition, which contributed to her fear for her safety at the notice location. But Ms. Matney relies solely on information and belief and well-sourced rumors, as there is no persuasive evidence in the record to support her assertion. As for the noticed location, Ms. Matney was unable to articulate any specific concrete safety threat unique to the noticed location that would excuse compliance with the subpoena. At the April 7th hearing, Ms. Matney testified that she was scared of going to the noticed location because she does not trust a lot of people, and she felt like the deposition at the noticed location was a trap. She further testified that if the deposition took place at the noticed location, she would have made sure the entry was secure and brought her security guard to make sure nobody was hiding nearby. Well, because she apparently she has a security guard, and because she brought him to her lawyer's office. So James Seidel has a podcast called Crime and Cask, Cask, says Amanda. Thank you. Right. And then Gen X Jen says a restraining order would go a long way to feeling safe at depositions, just saying. Thus, nothing prevented her from taking these security measures at the notice location, as she subsequently acknowledged the security guard that she had hired for the deposition could have accompanied her to the notice location, and he presumably would have secured the location as Ms. Matney desired. Footnote 12, which reads, the court further observes that the Parker's defendants offered to conduct the deposition at the Maynard Nexon offices in Columbia, which would have provided the security Ms. Matney desired, as its location on the 7th floor of a bank building with limited access and security guards. Ms. Matney declined, arguing that she should not have to travel to Columbia, despite subsequently offering Eric Bland's office in the Columbia, Lexington, South Carolina area, or her counsel's office in Charlotte, North Carolina, as alternatives after this order to show cause was filed. Oh, that's not good. Prior to the deposition, the Parker's defendant also offered to conduct the deposition at a hotel in Bluffton and split the costs. Ms. Matney, however, insisted on the location she had unilaterally chosen in Bluffton. I mean, I don't know anything about her, and I don't know any other than what I read to you in the beginning, and that's just, a brief summary of who she is and what she does. I've never watched her podcast. Other than that interview we watched with Julie Grant and Eric Bland, I really don't know who she is. But this decision to me is screaming entitlement, right? Judge Gilday said it the other day to one of the attorneys in Karen Reed's case. I don't know if it's entitlement or arrogance. Sounds like a little bit of entitlement, but again, I don't know the backstory here. Additionally, Ms. Matney's posts on social media, which were entered into evidence at the April 7th hearing, are inconsistent with her argument that she did not appear because she believed that she would be in imminent danger at the notice location. Ms. Matney has posted that she does not think the Parker defendants have the right to depose her, and she's fighting back. She has expressed her defiance for the court and its orders, characterizing the denial of her motion to quash as BS. We have a button for that. Here you go. The court's mad because the court thinks that she has been defying the court. People are saying, please learn the backstory. The backstory of the troll. G Jones 6166 says, please. Incoming 9-hour. Yeah, now I'm going to do a 9-hour stream. Oh, you mean she's going to do a 9-hour stream on her stalker? I feel like I got to dig into it more. But I feel like if you can afford a security guard and you're going to bring them to the location anyway, why can't your security guard just go wherever? And again, you can't just ignore court orders because there's one bathroom, and they did offer a number of different locations. I don't know. Let's keep going. I'm just giving you my thoughts. This is a cold read for me. I'm just giving you my thoughts as we move along because that's what we do. It's like a free thinking stream. It's like stream of consciousness. She posted that she would rather go to jail than sit in the same room as counsel for the Parker's defendants for this deposition. Oh, I mean, it sounds like things that Turtle Boy would say, but Turtle Boy would never just not show up. He would never no show. In fact, he would be really excited to come in for a deposition. He'd be really excited to come in and testify at trial if he wasn't facing criminal charges. And remember, she's not facing criminal charges. She has no criminal charges pending. And so that is a reason why Aiden Carney should not sit for a deposition now because until his criminal case is over. But she doesn't have any criminal charges pending. After refusing to appear for her deposition, she made posts celebrating that she stood her ground and that the deposition did not take place. Yeah, that's not good either. Somebody said they sent me those posts. And so I want to take a look at them with you after this. Undercover Angel says my thoughts are spot on. I mean, that's just like, listen, I'm totally neutral here. I don't have any dog in this fight. I don't feel any way, one way or another about Mandy Matney. Don't know her. Haven't been following this particular litigation. Don't know the whole backstory. But just based on the court order and the fact that they were trying to get her deposition since October, I do feel that somebody like a non-party witness like Michael Proctor, or, in the case of Karen Reed, Julie Albert was a no-show. Should there be ramifications for that? Yeah, there should. You can't just disobey, but in that case, it might not have been court ordered. But still, you can't just disobey court orders and not expect ramifications. Maybe she didn't think she would be spanked to the tune of, 6 figures. But these are my initial thoughts. And then you don't sort of like humble brag about it on social media, like, haha, I didn't show up. They're not going to depose me. Footnote 13, which says, to be clear, Ms. Matney generally has a First Amendment right to state her opinions about this case, the parties, and the court on social media and during her podcasts, and those posts do not form the basis for the court's finding of contempt. Okay? So again, the court is very clear here. We're not impeding on her First Amendment rights. She can say whatever she wants. However, the First Amendment does not preclude the court from considering these posts, which have been attached to pleadings or otherwise appropriately before this court when assessing Ms. Matney's credibility and whether she had just cause for her willful failure to appear at the notice location. While she may have been more comfortable at her desired location, her attorney's office, the court finds Ms. Matney's testimony that she feared for her safety to such an extent that she could not attend a deposition at the notice location, a law firm in Bluffton, with a security guard and surrounded by her attorneys is not credible. Moreover, there is no persuasive evidence in the record to support Ms. Matney's repeated assertions that the Parker's defendants and their attorneys pursued her deposition to harass and bully her. Team Brittany says, luckily, I have no clue who Mandy Matney is yet. I'm just here for the pizza. You would think. JJ says, I would think that Eric Bland probably warned her against defying the court order. Yeah, and Mark Tinsley too, because I guess she's friends with all of them, right? There's nuance to this that you just don't know, says virtual juror. Okay, I'm happy to listen. Tell me all about it. Tell me all about it. And no one is questioning why these attorneys felt they needed to control and scare her for a non-party. Well, they think that she might know where the leak came from. This case is specifically about a leak of private information, including post-mortem photos of Mallory Beach that were leaked from the mediation. I mean, I'm just reading the papers to you. Just reading the papers. And again, if this hearing was televised, let me know because I want to watch it. Send me the link. My email is in the show notes below, as always. Finally, Ms. Matney has stressed in filings and during hearings that she's a non-party who has nothing to do with this case. She has repeatedly represented to the court that she has no relevant information related to the litigation except for reporting on it, and that the Parker's defendants and their attorneys are using her deposition and this contempt proceeding to harass or punish her for her reporting on the Murdaugh case and to silence her. Footnote 14. Which reads, Ms. Matney has repeated this narrative on her podcast and on social media, attacking the Parker defendants' attorneys and occasionally the court itself. Chief Justice John Kitteridge recently noted the issue facing the judiciary of half-truths and false narratives that circulate on social media, podcasts, and other outlets masquerading as journalism, attacking our justice system, and observed that ethical restraints prohibit judges from responding no matter how false or outrageous the allegations may be. Well, again, they don't like new media. And that was an April 15th, 2026 State of the Judiciary Address. Sounds like something Judge Gilday would quote from. However, when the same narratives are presented to the court and entered into evidence, as has been done here, the court has a duty to assess their validity, and it has done so to the extent appropriate in considering and weighing all the evidence here. However, these assertions lack evidentiary support. And that's the allegation that the defendant, Parker's defendants and their attorneys are using her deposition and this contempt proceedings to harass or punish her for reporting on the Murdaugh case and to silence her. Well, you know how they did that to Turtle Boy? They arrested him on 16 felony counts. However, these assertions lack evidentiary support, and in denying Ms. Matney's motion to quash and her motion for reconsideration, the court already has determined that Ms. Matney's deposition testimony was relevant and the deposition was to proceed. Depositions are a normal part of the civil discovery process tool, a normal part of the civil, a normal process of the civil discovery, a normal part of the civil discovery process. I don't have any ads during my live stream ever. So I don't know what you're talking about, Hidden Wolf, but there are no ads during this live stream. So are you a troll? Because that's what they do. And again, there is no persuasive evidence before this court which would support Ms. Matney's allegations that she's being harassed or unjustly treated by the Parker's defendants or their counsel. So whatever evidence that she had, court wasn't buying what they're selling. Again, if you watch YouTube all day long, YouTube Premium is the greatest thing that you could ever have. You can buy YouTube Premium Lite, you can buy a student membership, and it's cheaper than Netflix, and you will never get ads ever on YouTube. But once again, I don't play ads during my, if they're popping up, that could be something else in the chat. You mean they're popping up? That must be a new thing that YouTube is rolling out. So I don't know. I have it set to no ads on my live streams. So there it is. That's all I'm telling you. I don't know. And again, depositions are a normal part of the civil discovery process. And again, there's no persuasive evidence before this court which would support Ms. Matney's allegations that she's being harassed or unjustly treated by the Parker's defendants or their counsel. Importantly, this contempt proceeding arose from Ms. Matney's own conduct. Had she appeared for her deposition at the noticed location on March 27th or accepted the alternative locations offered by the Parker's defendants, she would not be before this court on a contempt motion. Ms. Matney's stated reason for failing to comply, that the noticed location was not sufficiently safe for her, is not supported by the evidence or any credible testimony. Moreover, as discussed above, filing an emergency motion absent of stay or order granting relief did not excuse her compliance with the subpoena or with the court's prior orders. Accordingly, based on all of the evidence before this court, the court finds that there is clear and convincing evidence, because that's the standard, that Ms. Matney's failure to appear for her deposition at the notice location on March 27th, 2026 was without adequate excuse or cause and constitutes willful disobedience of both a valid subpoena and this court's March 16th, 2026 order. They're finding that it was willful and contumacious. The court's conclusion is reinforced by Ms. Matney's conduct in online commentary referenced in filings and exhibits which demonstrate a lack of appropriate respect. There it is. For the authority of the courts of this state. She's not respectful. She's not being respectful to the courts of South Carolina. And so therefore, that's another reason why we are punishing her. Because she hasn't been respectful to the court. Because of her conduct and online commentary. There it is. 3, having found Ms. Matney in civil contempt, the court orders her to reimburse the Parker defendants for the costs they incurred in enforcing the subpoena and the court's prior order, including reasonable attorney's fees. The court finds Ms. Matney's motion to quash, although denied, was filed as a matter of right. However, as made clear by the court's order denying her motion to quash, as well as the court's rulings on her subsequent motions referenced herein, all of Ms. Matney's follow-on filings, it probably should say follow-up filings, lacked merit, and the Parker's defendants prevailed on all of them. Okay, so a motion to quash, just think of it like a motion to squash. Oh, thanks, Hidden Wolf. I appreciate you. I love you too. A motion to quash, think of it like squash. A motion to quash is when you're subpoenaed to do something or be somewhere or give a deposition and you want the judge to just squash it and say, no, you don't have to appear for whatever reasons it is that you give. The court is saying, yeah, if they're looking for attorney's fees for that, we're not going to give them that because you have the right to file a motion to quash. The motion was denied and every other motion you filed after that, the court says, lacked merit. And the Parker's defendants prevailed on all of them. So you're going to have to pay attorney's fees. More specifically, a motion for reconsideration is an extraordinary remedy that is not intended to provide a dissatisfied litigant with a second opportunity to relitigate issues already decided by the court. And we talked about this earlier. Rather, reconsideration is generally appropriate only when there's been an intervening change in controlling law, newly discovered evidence, or a clear error of law resulting in manifest injustice. Ms. Matney's motion, or it could be a clear error of the facts. Like, for example, going back to Judge Gilday, the way that Judge Gilday ruled was based on a misapplication of the facts of the incorrect timestamp on the June 8th, 2026 tweet of Turtle Boy about Michael Proctor being inpatient in Florida in a mental health facility. Oh, please. Ms. Matney's motion for reconsideration satisfied none of these standards. Instead, her request for reconsideration merely recycled arguments previously rejected by the court. Similarly, her motion for emergency relief was unsupported by any genuine emergency. The alleged circumstances either were created by her own conduct or were known well before the filing of the motion. Courts consistently reject attempts to manufacture emergency circumstances in order to obtain expedited review or evade compliance with court orders. And then he cites a whole bunch of cases about what an emergency is. Ms. Matney's multiple motions on supporting memoranda have required the Parker's defendants to devote substantial time and resources responding to arguments that lacked merit and have previously been adjudicated. These unnecessary filings imposed financial burden on the Parker's defendants that would not have been incurred but for Ms. Matney's conduct. As noted above, in a civil contempt proceeding, the court may order a contemner to reimburse a complainant for the costs he incurred in enforcing the court's prior order, including reasonable attorney's fees. The award of attorney's fees is not a punishment, but an indemnification to the party who instituted the contempt proceeding. So it's not a punishment. It's just you having to pay back the money that they spent trying to get the valid court order enforced. The correct measure for attorney's fees awards in civil contempt cases focuses on the reasonableness of the fees sought and the benefit obtained without regard to the financial impact of the award. Fee awards in contempt cases serve to reimburse a party for the reasonable fees and costs incurred to enforce a court order, not to punish. Well, do you think any Massachusetts judge would ever award a defense firm, like in this case, costs for somebody failing to show up to a deposition that was court ordered? We haven't seen that yet. Such sanctions are necessary to protect the integrity of the judicial process. The judicial system depends upon parties respecting subpoenas and utilizing motion practice in good faith. Allowing a contemner to disrespect court orders and file legally and factually unsupported motions without consequence encourages continued abuse of the process and undermines the authority of the court. Having found there is clear and convincing evidence establishing Ms. Matney's civil contempt, the court orders her to reimburse the Parker's defendants for the costs they incurred in enforcing the subpoena and the court's prior order, including reasonable attorney's fees. Okay, so it's not just filing fees, it's also hourly billing by the attorneys. And every time you get a bill from an attorney, tell me if you've ever hired an attorney and paid them by the hour for anything, a divorce, a custody dispute. Those are the things that come to mind. You get a bill from every single person who touches your case at that law firm. You get a bill from the partner at the partner's rate. You get a bill from the associates at the associate's rate. You get billed for research. You get billed for paralegal time. You get billed for everything, every phone call, every text message, every email. It's insane. It is therefore ordered that the Parker's defendant's motion to hold Ms. Matney in contempt for willfully failing to comply with a duly issued subpoena and the orders of this court is granted. It is therefore ordered that Ms. Matney shall pay the Parker's defendants reasonable expenses and attorney's fees and costs incurred as a result of her willful and intentional failure to appear for the March 27th, 2026 deposition, the aborted deposition, and the filing and prosecution of the motion for rule to show cause, Ms. Matney's emergency motion to set the deposition location, Ms. Matney's motion for reconsideration, and preparation for and appearances at the May 15th, 2026 and June 22nd, 2026 contempt hearings. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of hourly. That's a lot of billing. One, two, three, four, five motions, preparing for appearances, preparing for depositions, showing up at those contempt hearings, preparing for the contempt hearings. That's a lot. Along with any pleadings or correspondence related thereto. The Parker's defendants submitted under seal 3 affidavits and 3 itemized billing statements related to these proceedings of such attorney's fees and costs. So they submitted all of their billing records and they're sealed. And they probably should be, although I'm dying to know what their hourly rate is in the Low Country. Footnote 15 says, the attorney's fees and cost affidavits and the itemized billing statements provided under seal to this court came from the law firms of Bannister, Wyatt, and Stalvey, LLC, Deborah B. Barbier, and Maynard, Nexon, PC. So there's 3 law firms involved. Scott says it's cheaper to skip town. CJ Girl says, I worked in billing for a large law firm in Boston. They bill for everything. Well, here it is. The itemized billing statements, the 3 law firms related to these proceedings of such attorneys' fees and costs, requesting a total award of $310,533.39. If you were ever in doubt about how much money Aidan Carney has spent defending himself in not only his criminal bogus charges, but also now this bogus defamation case, this is 3 law firms' bills for a couple of motions and a couple of court appearances, $310,000. $310,500. After applying the Miller and Poston factors, this court awards, and this is all in bold, this court awards the Parker's defendants $171,500 total for attorney's fees and costs, of which $39,900 is awarded to the law firm of Bannister, Wyatt and Salvey. $45,950 is awarded to the law firm of Deborah Barbier, LLC, and $85,650 is awarded to the law firm of Maynard Nexon, PC. This award represents a 44.7% reduction of the total fees and costs originally requested by the Parker's defendants. The court also believes that a fine in addition to the above referenced cost and expenses is necessary here to deter similar conduct in the future and to promote respect for the law. Oh, they're making an example out of Mandy Matney. They're making an example out of her. The court therefore imposes a fine of $5,000 with said fine due and payable within 60 days of the date of this order. Hello, Alex. Hi, Alex. I love Alex. Alex. Hi, Alex. Thanks you so much for watching today. And thanks for drawing me a picture. I love it. I can't wait. Can't wait to get it. We love Alex. She's the cutest. The court retains jurisdiction to impose such additional sanctions as may be necessary to ensure compliance with this order. It is so ordered. XOXO. The judge, R. Keith Kelly. R. Keith Kelly. Sounds like a, I don't know, a rapper name or something. And there it is. It is ordered. She says, thank you. So they only got 44% of what they were asking for. It doesn't say she's got to pay the attorney's fees in 60 days also. Hold on. She gets 60 days to pay that or just the $5,000 fine? It says the said fine is due and payable within 60 days. Okay, but it doesn't give a date when she has to pay the $171,500 by. I imagine that she's going to appeal this. But as I say, when you appeal something, if you lose, you have to pay interest on this amount. And let me do a quick search to see if I can find out what the statutory interest rate is in South Carolina. Hold on. South Carolina. So if there's any South Carolina petitioners here, ask me. I mean, let me know if you think that statutory interest would apply. So for a judgment and decree in South Carolina, the statutory interest rate is 10.75% compounded annually. It's prime plus 4%. And the general statutory rate for accounts stated are sums where money is due, but no written contract specifies a rate. No, this is like a judgment. Yeah, court judgment. Hold on. Court. And it would revert back to the date of this order, so it's risky. So it's the standard statutory court judgment rate, which is 10.75% compounded annually. And it begins accruing on the date of the order, and appeals can take a very, very, very long time. All right, let me, somebody said they sent me the social media post, which I really want to see. So let me see if they're in my inbox. Hang on. Oh, please. Mandy Matney. Oh, somebody sent me something that says that Mandy Matney is charging $500 to view her hearing. What? Seriously? Okay, I don't know what this is. Luna Shark Media. So that's her company, right? Is this real, or are you messing with me? Hold on a second. Are you messing with me? Because I said I wanted to watch the contempt hearing. Hold on a second. Luna Shark Premium says, watch Mandy's June 22nd civil contempt hearing in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And then it says, buy the post for $500. What? Michael says, sorry, but I feel that the fees should only be for the cost and time of the day of the deposition missed, and any cost of motions after that date dealing with the missed deposition. She was deposed the next day. I don't think it was the next day, but she made a lot of frivolous motions according to the court, and the 2 contempt hearings, and the judge did cut it in half by 44%. So I think it's even less than that. I see what you're saying. A lot of people feel like it was, just because of who she is. She was deposed the next day. She wasn't deposed the next day after the day that she was supposed to be deposed. Okay. If I have to pull up these papers again, I will. Because she was eventually deposed in April, and the day she was supposed to appear, wasn't that March 27th? Hold on. I don't think she was deposed on March 28th. She was supposed to be deposed on March 27th, and I think she was deposed in April. She's getting a 40% discount, says Mike. Okay, so she sat on April 8th. She was supposed to come on March 27th. That's the day she went to her own lawyer's office and said, here's where I am. If you want to depose me, come here. I'm here with my security guard, and I don't like the fact that you have 1 bathroom at your office, so I'm not coming there. She didn't go there. She posted some stuff on social media that the judge didn't like. He took it as being like a defying of his order, but she didn't sit until April 8th. So I don't know why you're saying she sat the next day. She didn't sit the next day. She sat the next day after her first hearing, her first contempt hearing. But just because she eventually sat, the judge doesn't just wipe out the fact that they still want to hold her under contempt, right? Under contempt. I'm not seeing that anybody sent me those social media posts that were in the, hang on a second. I see a lot of spam in here, but I don't see. Oh, I see a lot of stuff on Kevin Clapp too. All right, let me show you Mandy Matney's Facebook, because she did post some stuff there. Yeah, because we were getting into John Fanning. The John Fanning rabbit hole is deep and disgusting. It's deep and disgusting. Okay. Here's what she posted 2 days ago on her Facebook page. So let's take a look at this. This is Mandy Matney's Facebook. Okay, here you go. She got 61,000 followers. Blah, blah, blah. Creator of Murdaugh Murders Podcast, True Sunlight Podcast, co-host of Cup of Justice Podcast. And now she's started, I guess, a GoFundMe to help her. She writes on July 15th, which was, I guess, the day this order came out. No, this came out on the 13th, right? I don't know. My date, my brain is mush right now. But here's what she posted 2 days ago, 7:43 p.m. I hate asking for money because my supporters have already done so much for me, but the corrupt South Carolina legal system has left me no choice right now. Judge R. Keith Kelly issued an unprecedented financial penalty against me, $176,000, all for asking the court to be deposed in a safe place. Why is it not coming up? Yeah, that's so weird. Oh, it must be a StreamYard issue. I can see it on my screen. Yeah, I'm meant to be sharing, and it's not coming up. I'm going to refresh my browser, okay? Everyone just stay right there. I'm going to be right back. Sometimes that helps. I'll be right there. It's StreamYard. Hold on. All right, let's try it again. Yeah, there's a blank screen because I was refreshing my browser. Let's see if we can do this again. Tell me if you can see it now. Oh, there's such a lag today too, because on my phone it's way behind. I think it's up now. Can you see it now? See, sometimes you just refresh the browser and it works. It's on my phone now. Okay, thank you, Mitchell. You're a very good student. Mitchell's always in the front row. He's always letting me know what's happening. Refreshing the browser, restarting the computer is always a good way to fix it. Okay, so here's what she said on July 15th. I hate asking for money because my supporters have already done so much for me, but the corrupt South Carolina legal system has left me no choice right now. Judge R. Keith Kelly issued an unprecedented financial penalty against me, $176,000, for all for asking the court to be deposed in a safe place. I believe this ruling is retaliatory for using my First Amendment rights to speak out against this corrupt justice system and all the good old boys I have called out since I started the Murdaugh Murders Podcast. Please help us fight this by contributing or sharing. Every single bit counts and sends a strong message. All right, let's see how much they've raised so far. So far, they've raised $53,955. And this was specifically enacted to help journalist Mandy Matney fight the $176,500 contempt order. Let's go back here. Then she said on the 15th, she said, despite what the court said, I had every right to fear for my safety on the day of my deposition. This creepy man named Jim Seidel, AKA Crime and Cask, AKA the Felon, has increasingly obsessively and relentlessly posted about me for more than 8 months now. His behavior appears to be unhinged, in my opinion, and the fact that he seemed to have confidential knowledge of where and when my deposition was. He still posts about me almost daily while claiming to be a journalist with literal no journalism experience, while he mocks my title of journalist that I earned with a degree in journalism and a decade of experience at different newspapers. I tried ignoring him. It didn't work. I tried filing a police report. That didn't work. My lawyers tried their best in court to get Judge Kelly to hear the extent of this man's horrifying harassment campaign, and he refused to listen to most of it. He seemed to get weirdly irritated whenever it was brought up. So, to the men and some women covering my story and commenting, saying things like, I got what I deserved and there was nothing for me to be afraid of, please watch this video entirely. All I ever wanted was my deposition to be held in a safe location. Now the court wants me to pay a bill of $176,000 for that. Well, I think there's music in this. I don't know if I can play it. Hold on.
I see your memory.
I can't play that. So anyway, this man, Crime and Cask, aka Jim Seidel, the felon, threatened to attend my deposition and appeared to be in communication with Greg Parker's attorneys. And it says, here's the evidence I wanted to use in court to demonstrate reasonable fear of the March 27th deposition location. Much of it was not allowed into evidence by Judge R. Keith Kelly. And then, I don't know, was that Mandy by Barry Manilow? Is that what he was singing? Is that what the song was? And it says, after journalist Mandy was subpoenaed by Greg Parker's legal defense team in October 2025, convicted felon on probation James P. Seidel posts himself singing Mandy to social media. November 2025, since deleted. And we just read the rest of that post. See what else we can find here. I mean, now we got to look up this guy, right? All right, let's scroll through her Facebook a little bit more, see what else we see. Hold on. Is it still sharing with you? On the 15th, she posts, hundreds of y'all have reached out asking how to help us get through this. We're facing a major uphill legal battle, fighting this unjust court order. A deposition that I sat for should never cost a journalist her life savings. Please support us in any way you can. Thank you. Okay, you can see it. Good. And then she says, there's so much misinformation. This is on the 14th, purposely being spread by other reporters about my contempt case. It's absolutely disgusting. Please, at the very least, listen to what I have to say about my case and the dangerous precedent it sets for others before you start posting about why I deserve to pay $171,500 in legal fees to billionaire Greg Parker. Well, I just read the filing to you, and that's, I stick with the court papers. And so I guess she's directing people to her podcast, right? That's her podcast on Apple, Cup of Justice. That is the one that Eric Bland said that he was just leaving. I think he just said that yesterday. We need your support more than ever on the 14th. We have an uphill battle. We will announce a broader fundraising strategy soon, but to send immediate support, please join Premium on Patreon tomorrow, Supercast today, or donate here. Luna Shark Supercast, donations new. July 14th, for the good old boys commenting on my page that I should have just followed the rules. Read this. Slower this time so you get it. And then she writes this. Don't be fooled. Judge Kelly's order is not meant to uphold the court's power in any way. If Judge Kelly cared about that, Greg Roman, the fake journalist at the heart of this lawsuit, who has literally ignored subpoenas and refused to be deposed, would have been held in contempt a long time ago and issued bigger fees for the messes he has made in this lawsuit. So I guess there are some defendants who are actual journalists who they're accusing of leaking the information. On the 14th, she posted again, for the record, I never once admitted to making anything up on the stand. I have called John Monk of the state newspaper a bad journalist who has protected the good old boys of South Carolina for decades, which is why he's lying about me in this article, because he wants me to be the one no one believes. Can't wait until he gets sued. So then she attaches a little snippet of something that this guy published. John Monk of the state newspaper wrote something called Portrait of a Podcaster, and says, during the 3 hearings that Judge Kelly held, Matney admitted making things up on her podcast and not knowing routine details about her podcasting business, such as how much money her business makes. Asked by Barbier in the June 22nd hearing about a podcast in which Matney alleged Barbier pounded her fist during a hearing, Barbier told Matney, "You are aware that I've never pounded my fist in the courtroom." Matney replied, "Your pounding your fist is more of an expression." Barbier said, "It's an expression, but it didn't happen. It's false characterization and a false narrative of what occurred in that court proceeding, isn't it?" Matney said, "I don't know." Barbier said, "Well, you have the video. Is there any video of my pounding my fist?" And Matney said, "It's an expression." And I would agree with her there. That is an expression. But I guess we can't watch the hearings or listen to them unless we pay $500. Really? Is that the only way that we can? I'd like to watch the hearing or see the transcript, but I'm not paying $500 for it. And then she says on the 14th, "I'm not angry that Judge R. Keith Kelly found me in contempt of court. I'm angry that he's ordering me to pay an unprecedented amount in legal fees to Greg Parker's attorneys. I'm angry that he ruled that the fees are confidential, so I have no idea how much of that money was actually spent to stalk my social media and defame me in the public interest." But that's not true. It's impounded to the public, but she's allowed to see it. It was attached to the motion. Her attorney has it. She's allowed to see it. What? If she's got a problem with the amount, then she could obviously, but those are not private from her. The South Carolina justice system is exactly like I've been saying all along, corrupt. And this is my punishment for calling it like it is. Like I said in today's Cup of Justice podcast, if you want to help in this fight to change the system, check the last slide for more info. Thank you to everyone who supported me. You'll carry us through every step. I know it. The link to the hi, FBI ice cream truck. And then before that was July 13th, her statement on the passing of Lindsey Graham. So I don't know. This is what? From a girlie who has completely been sabotaged by other girlies sliding into her DMs. This is what dreams are made of. Thank you, Micah, for leading me to so many amazing women. Justice for Micah, hashtag Hillary Duff. I have no idea what that is. Let me just let's check this guy out. Okay, this is the Crime Creek. This is him, right? Crime and Cask Investigations. He's got 230,000 followers. Oh, I guess he's got a big social media following. This is the alleged stalker. So hold on. Let's see if he says anything about her in the past couple of days. He does say 4 hours ago, Stephen Smith, Gloria Satterfield, Mallory Beach, Paul Murdaugh, and Maggie Murdaugh, they're all connected. They still haven't caught the perpetrator of Stephen Smith, if indeed that was a murder. Okay, here's what he tweeted. Tweeted, this is his Facebook, 15 hours ago. She's falling fast. Fox News, you're next up on the harasser list for writing an article about her downfall. So Fox News wrote an article. I actually saw it today also in the New York Post. Oh, is this the lemon pound cake picture? Here you go. I found it. We found it. This is the lemon pound cake picture of Mandy Matney and that's Mark Tinsley, right? Eating cake, let them eat cake. And this was after the day when she was supposed to be at her deposition that she didn't show up, and she showed up at her. I mean, tell me what you think about that. The judge is mad about that. Would you be mad about that if you were the judge? I don't think that was about Micah Miller for some reason, though. I was thinking that first. I thought that had to do with Hillary Duff. It was hashtag Hillary Duff. So I don't know. It has nothing to do with Micah Miller. So I was confused. So you tell me what you think about this lemon pound cake picture. There it is. Tiger Tinsley. This is one of the things that the judge was mad about. And I had to go to the Crime and Cast page to find it. Okay, let's see. 20 hours ago, the fall of Mandy Matney has begun. Mandy Matney strikes again. Deborah left no crumbs after she was done with you in the courtroom. This is an older post from 21 hours ago. Wonder why you were so scared of the courts looking into your finances that you chose to ignore a court-ordered deposition to determine who leaked Mallory Beach autopsy photos. I thought you were all about women. If so, you would have sat for it and helped find the leak. No, you are or claim to be a millionaire, yet asking those less fortunate to pay your debt. That court fine is a consequence of your choices. Stop the online begging. Stop taking advantage of people. Have you no shame? And then he reposted one of her posts. And then he posts, Eric Bland is leaving the Cup of Justice podcast. And this is Eric Bland's actual tweet from, I think it was yesterday. To my friends, supporters, and Cup of Justice listeners, I've decided that my run as one of the co-hosts of Cup of Justice podcast will come to an end in the next couple of weeks. It has been the honor of my lifetime to work alongside of Mandy, Liz, and David and the True Sunlight staff for the last 5 years in pursuing justice for the Murdaugh financial crimes, as well as other important matters that benefited from the sunlight that we gave to them. There are not two other journalists that I would rather have been in the foxhole with during the past 5 years than Mandy and Liz. I am really proud of the important work that we did that provided lasting results. And then he posts yesterday, soon to be new harassers of Matney, Fox News, New York Post, AOL, Yahoo, and a lot more. The downfall of Mandy Matney is happening in real time. That was yesterday. Oh, and there's a picture from the New York Post of her dabbing her eyes with a tissue. I'm not sure if that was during the contempt hearing or not. Looks very pretty in that pink dress. I don't know if that was for the Hulu premiere of her show. And then he posted on July 15th, Mandy Matney presented no evidence of harassment, swore under oath 2 times. She has no evidence of harassment, but willfully disobeyed the judge's order anyway. Not the self-proclaimed millionaire who eats caviar by her Hilton Head Island pool and travels the world, wants her followers to pay for her disobedience. And he's reporting on her downfall, and he seems to take pleasure in it.
All right, y'all. This is a big deal.
This is somebody called True Crime with Megan. He posted this, so let's see what she's got to say. Oops.
You know. So news is coming out today that a judge has found the podcaster named Mandy Matney from South Carolina in contempt of court. Now, in case you don't know, she is a former news reporter. She became a true crime podcaster, and that was after she covered the 2019 boat crash that killed Mallory Beach, where Alex Murdaugh's son was a part of it, Paul. She also did the Murdaugh Murders Podcast. This is for her flat out refusing to sit for a court-ordered deposition, and that was because of ridiculous reasons, if you ask me, and I'll tell you those reasons. I'm not going to put my 2 cents in too much regarding this case, though, because it'll get me fired up. As Mandy's punishment, she was reportedly slapped with having to pay nearly $200,000. That included $171,500 in lawyer's fees and a $5,000 fine. Poor Mandy. So how did all this happen? According to reports, the lawyer's fees will go to 3 law firms who asked for Mandy to testify in an ongoing civil lawsuit. Now, Mandy is not an actual party in that lawsuit, but the attorneys did believe that she might have some information that could have helped them. She has since given a deposition that I believe was on April 8th. A 22-page order was reportedly filed today on Monday, July 13th by the judge. That's Keith Kelly, Judge Keith Kelly. The judge said her failure to sit for a deposition back in March was a deliberate act of defiance of a legitimate court order. And that's exactly what it is. You don't get to pick and choose what court orders you follow and abide by. The judge said her failure to appear was not the result of confusion, mistake, or an inability to appear, but a deliberate decision to disregard the subpoena and the court order from March 16th, which said it required her to be deposed within 14 days. The judge stated in the order he couldn't find any good or logical reason why Mandy didn't
This is something that is against Mandy Matney that was posted on this guy, Crime and Casks Facebook page. And thank you to Sophia for sending me the video. I mean, it looks like a video of one of the contempt hearings. Hold on a second. And this was posted April 16th, 2026, but it was posted by that guy, Crime and Cask. And so I don't want to play it for you, but I can link it below if you guys want to watch it. I'll show it to you. Hold on. It's right here. Mandy Matney testifies in Gaffney hearing on missing court-ordered deposition appearance. And this is under that guy, Crime and Cask's YouTube channel. Oops, I got out of your way. And he posted it on April 16th, 2026. I don't want to get stricken, so I don't want to play it for you. But here's his YouTube channel. And he's got 2,000 subscribers, not even 3,000 subs. So maybe this is not where he does the most of his, obviously, journalism. He must do it mostly on Facebook because over there he's got like 250,000 or so followers on Facebook. So if you would like, I will link it below so you can listen to it. I want to listen to it because I want to hear it. But the judge didn't like what she had to say and wanted to make an example of her. And that's exactly what he did. Let me go to the chat because you guys are going nuts about this. All right, here we go. The band Via says, Mandy is awesome. She was treated horribly by Harpootlian and powers that be in her area. I am Grilsey says, what secure bunker was she eating her lemon pound cake in? They could have done that. They could have done the deposition there. Does anybody have the other posts? The posts of her like having a celebratory dinner and like cheersing or something? Thank you, Betsy, for your Venmo. I love you with all my heart too. Thank you, Michelle. She says she lives in Charleston. We're really trying to get to the retrial. Awesome. That would be fantastic if you keep in touch and you go to the Murdaugh retrial. Please let me know. It's always good to have cupcakes in the courtroom for all trials. That would be amazing. Nurse, not lawyer, says, my attorney reminded me constantly to keep my mouth shut and ignore my neighbor that was suing me, no matter what she said, or just me and my family. Midlife Mania says, my opinion is that Mark Tinsley is a decent looking guy. I agree. Laura says Sandy Smith is a saint. I hope she gets answers in her lifetime. Me too. Harry says social media can be curated and not what's actually happening. True. How do we know when that picture was taken? I think the court said that it was posted the same day. And she was with Mark Tinsley that day. So I don't know. Oh, thank you, Brittany. Hillary Duff is the concert they were at. This is what dreams are made of. Oops. Is I think a lyric from her song or the song name. Okay. So was that about Micah Miller? Like I don't know. I was confused. Hillary Duff is on tour. Buy the tickets. Agreed. Buy the tickets always. Was the location tagged? You know, I'm going to dig into this more if you want. And I think you should too. And Zoe said that Parker's PI leaked those photos. Are you talking about the photos of Mallory Beach? That's horrific. I'm sure they're going to do his deposition. Don't you think the plaintiffs will do it? And that's why they're being sued. The plaintiffs will do his deposition too, but they wanted her deposition to see if she knew anything about it, right? Chloe says that this guy, Crime and Cask, sounds like Kate Peter, maybe. Karma said, Mandy haters are loving the stream. I don't have an opinion about her one way or another. I don't really know anything about her. I'm just reading the court order. That's all. Kim is a ladybug says, this is a money grab by the Parkers, in my opinion. Hi, Kim. Healing vibes. All the healing vibes to you. Scorpio says she talks about corruption, and that may be, but she still has to follow the rules. Secondly, if the other person wasn't sanctioned, etc., that is fair. But let's face it, courts are often unfair. Well, I don't know the history or the lore behind the actual defendant journalist who hasn't been showing up for the deposition. I don't know if any motions were made for sanctions. I don't know about any of that. And so we'll see. I don't know if she brought that up in her papers, I don't know. Yes, Mo Hippie. We covered her background in the very beginning of the stream. She used to work for Fitz News, right? But even before that, she worked for even a smaller publication on Hilton Head, and then she went to Fitz News, and then she started her podcast and her own media company called Luna Shark. I followed her during the Murdaugh trial and the boat crash that happened with Paul Murdaugh. That's when she first started covering it, right? And she wanted to uncover the corruption of the Murdaugh family that had been ruling the Low Country for like a century. And remember, during Alex Murdaugh's trial, or as we're going to say from now on, Alex Murdaugh's first trial, they had to remove a portrait of like his great-great-grandfather that was hanging in the courtroom, because that's how long his family has been what they call, I don't know, what do they call it there? The Solicitor General or something? It's what we call the district attorney, the prosecutors of Colleton County for like a century. Very powerful, right? Patty says, if she posts what she's eating today, most days, then it's business as usual. If she posts rarely, then I can see why the judge took umbrage. DK says, I don't agree with the fine. I think she should have kept her cocky comments to herself. Looked real bad. Robin says, Turtle Boy has followed every letter of the law as a journalist. Mandy Matney hasn't. In addition, she's calling another journalist a stalker. Journalists are not stalkers or witness intimidators. Thank you for Robin. Thank you, Robin. Heather says, I don't like judges using social media to make rulings, mostly because I've seen how posts by Turtle Boy get misinterpreted and twisted. As far as I know, Turtle Boy has never willfully disobeyed a court order. And that's what the court found here, that she willfully disobeyed a court order with 36 hours notice by showing up where she wanted to show up because the other place only had one bathroom and not enough security. But they offered her several alternative locations. And I think that what he was also mad about was that very same day that she defied the judge's order and went to her own lawyer's office instead, she was posting celebratory pictures, I think. That's what the judge was mad about, as a neutral reading of the order reveals, right? Kilo Charlie, referring to Kim, says, LOL, no. Greg Parker has umpteen zillion dollars and his attorneys are well compensated. $171,500 isn't making or breaking any of their lives. The money grab is from Mandy Matney herself. Ooh, them fighting words. Karma Creator for You says, Mandy fights against corruption just like Turtle Boy without all the filthy language. Mandy is always up against the good old boys, their money, who their money can buy. Mo Hippie, show me, says, I haven't followed her since because you have to be a member to watch the majority of her stuff. Oh, speaking of having to be a member, have you seen what Law and Crime has done? Okay, so you know that Law and Crime bought Court TV and now it's all under the same corporate umbrella, right? Dan Abrams and also Vinnie Politan is a shareholder in Court TV. I didn't know that. And I've been screaming that Law and Crime and Court TV, since they are now all the same company, why don't they cover different trials? They're still covering the same trials at the same time. So we're only getting like 2 options of live trials to watch on both of their networks at a time, which is annoying. But they started this new thing, Law and Crime, called Case Files, where you have to pay a monthly membership fee, but they have all the court documents from like cases, current ones, and cases gone by, which is interesting. And so that's what they're doing now. They're moving to a subscription model. That's how they're going to make their money. Oh, please. Pat Ray says, the unequal treatment makes me sympathetic to Mandy. If it's true that others face no sanctions for contempt for similar behavior, she'd have expected the same, even though she was in the wrong too. But don't you think it would have been somewhere in the papers that we read? You know, that her argument that parties who have failed to show up for depositions haven't been sanctioned holds no merit because XYZ. I don't know. I haven't gone over the whole entire court docket. And the Hampton County, South Carolina court docket, if you know, you know. Like, try and find something in there. Nothing is labeled properly. It's all kind of like thrown in there. You really have to look for it, and you got to have a lot of time to dedicate to it, which I didn't have getting ready for today from just yesterday. DK says that she complained that her stalker always knew where she was, and she posts constantly where she is. Oh, you thought the post was AI? I don't know. I'm behind on the comments, so please. Nicole Claire says, why is this the hill she chose to die on? I don't know. I don't know. Why not show up? And if there are questions you don't want to answer, just say that's covered by journalistic privilege. The journalistic privilege in South Carolina is limited. So I did a little research on that. So if you're interested on that, I'll tell you about it. But Annie says, I watched the video of the hearing. It's bad and should have been seen by the judge. Wait, what video? So you're not talking about the video of the hearing that I pointed out to you. Notably, the judge had praised Seidel, the guy she's afraid of. Okay, are there any like posts by this journalist, Seidel, that threaten like her life that make you think that she has a reason to be afraid? Listen, there's a lot of trolls out there. We all have them. And most of them are not, they're hiding behind fake names. they're not out there using their real names and stuff. And they threaten and do all kinds of creepy, crazy things. And has this guy, to your knowledge, ever done anything like that? I'm just curious. Yeah, the issues about the bathroom. If you're behind, you will we get to it. Eve Landa says, I'm pretty sure they will request and most likely receive a change of venue, and Murdaugh's retrial will be held even closer to where I live in South Carolina. If so, I'm all about going from start to finish. Silver Lady said, I thought Becky Hill was found to have leaked photos of Mallory Beach during her hearing with Judge Toll. Oh, I don't remember. I remember watching the hearing, but I don't remember that. She's not a defendant in this particular lawsuit. Mo Hibbs says Mallory Beach case was and is heartbreaking. Paul had lots of problems due to being a young alcoholic. They always bailed him out until they couldn't anymore due to the death of Mallory. I know, and I really liked the Hulu miniseries. I thought they did a really good job. And I thought the actor who played Paul, by the way, is an incredible actor, because it's really hard to make what should be an unsympathetic character into a very sympathetic character. And he really gave a lot of humanity to Paul, in my opinion. And the same with the character of Gloria Satterfield in that. Yeah. Canada Mom 2 says, so the contempt came after she actually sat for the deposition. Yes, but they had to file motions to get her to appear. And then there were hearings before she actually did appear. And then she did appear, probably thinking, after I appear for a deposition, all this is going to go away. But it didn't go away. They kept going with the hearings. Christy says, we should wait to hear her side of the story. There are two sides. I agree. But I'm reading the court's decision, and that's what we're talking about today. I am open to all sides. I think the judge is making an example of her. You can't defy a court order, no matter who you are. Dana says, the Luna Shark podcasts are amazing. I listen to all of them. Oh, okay, Annie. Thank you for explaining this to me. Mandy was at a Hillary Duff concert with a person she met because of her reporting about Micah Miller. Okay. Thank you. Lady K Cat says, I listened to her podcast during the trial of Alex Murdaugh. I don't agree with her missing her deposition. I'm not part of the cancel culture happening online. She should pay her court fees and continue to report. I mean, those are the options, right? You can pay the sanction. You can try and negotiate the sanction, right? Everything's negotiable. You can appeal it and risk it being upheld on appeal and then having to pay judgment interest at, what did we say it was? Over 10% compounded annually. And you know how long appeals take. It seems like she's trying to raise the money. I don't know if she's trying to raise the money to pay the sanction or to pay the attorney's fees, or she's looking for money to pay her own attorney's fees to fight it. So I just don't know. Zimmy says, theoretically, everyone can be a stalker. Question, were we continuing the timeline started yesterday, or was we finished? No, we're gonna do a part 2 to that, but today I wanted to cover something different. We've been in Karen Reed land for a very, very, very long time. And today I wanted to cover something different. And so that's what we're doing right now. We still have the whole weekend. And then we have Monday to cover Turtle Boy's hearing, which now I understand is going to be televised. So we're going to be able to cover it at 9 a.m. on Monday. Mr. Betterow is going to be back in court. Unfortunately, they only each have a half an hour to argue. Do you think Cosgrove can get it all out in a half an hour? 112521 says Julie Albert should pay attention. Javelin says she disobeyed a court order. End of story. Actions have consequences. I mean, this is a good reminder of how expensive attorneys' fees are. Thank you very much. Amanda, who resent this to me. Oh, the pop-ups. Hold on. Okay, thank you, Amanda. Here are the social media posts that the judge was referring to. And they are, of course, on this guy, Seidel's website. So let's take a look. Hopefully the screen is sharing with you. Yeah, Kazi's going to need to drop a Red Bull in his coffee for that. Okay. So here it is. Mandy Matney socializing after refusing to attend the notice deposition. And here's her post. Commenter, contemner. Mandy Matney with her attorney, her husband, David Moses, celebrating her willfully missing her court-ordered deposition. These are the captions by the guy who's the alleged stalker. And this says, it's a post where they look like they are all sitting outside having a nice meal. She is tagged. Her husband is tagged. There's two other women sitting with them. They all look very happy. And then the caption says, so the deposition didn't happen, but at least we had a fun day eating our way through Savannah. I mean, does that show? And look, it's her, looks like her Instagram, Mandy Matney, it says at the top. And then I think the other one was the lemon pound cake one that we already looked at. I mean, the judge didn't like it. Thanks, Amanda. Thank you. Elise says, yeah, I've listened to her podcast and I love her, but yes, you should abide by court orders. I think she's digging in because of her status as a journalist. Kimberly says, but does that justify having Mandy pay Parker's $175,000 in legal fees? Well, they want to double that almost. She got a 60% discount. And, those are the attorney's fees involved with her failing to show up and them having to make all these motions to try and get her there. And I don't know if she had any relevant testimony or not, but, they're being sued by the Beaches for confidential information that was leaked from the mediation that they did in the wrongful death case of Beaches versus Paul Murdaugh and Parker's, which settled for something like $15 million from Parker's, and then maybe $500,000 from Paul Murdaugh and another $500 from somebody else. Scott McGinnis is here. He says, I think Turtle Boy is following the court's rules, that's for sure. Plus, he has top attorneys advising him to do so. Doing otherwise is foolish. Julie says, except it sounds like the other side didn't show up for depositions and wasn't sanctioned or fined at all. Right, but that's not, we're not seeing that from the court papers. We read that on Mandy Matney's Facebook page, and she's not a party to this case. So does she really know what actually is happening in this case procedurally? I don't know. But that's why I like to stick to the court documents and the police reports and everything like that. We looked at her social media to see if we could find what it is that the judge was so mad about. But she says that. I don't have a receipt that is true unless somebody can point me in the direction of a receipt. Thanks, Rosie Red, for becoming a member. I'm just saying, says, hard to say you're afraid of a place because of one bathroom, but go out to a public restaurant trying to be on her side, but she's not making it easy. Just my opinion for you, says Uphill Battle. It seems judges do not consider alternative media as mainstream, out of touch, or just ignorant. Up to You Creation says it doesn't matter. She should have showed up. Carrie P says, it feels like if she feels like they're trying to control her to make her show up, or does she not want to tell the truth? I don't really buy the fear excuse. No. I don't know. Oh, we do need an affirmation today. Thank you. Thank you, Mitchell. Affirmations for a badass. We pull from this deck every single day because all of you are badasses and we always need an affirmation to get us through the day. It's Friday. It's almost 4:30 p.m. here on the East Coast. Let's pull it. Here we go. Focus on the positive, you silly little biatch. Focus on the positive. You silly little bitch. That's what it says. It's so easy to get stuck in the negative. Try and focus on the positive. Sometimes if you shift your mindset, you'll have a better day. That's what the deck says today. That's what the deck says. Yeah, this, Julie says, should have faked a panic attack. Then she can get discovery pulled and not show up at all. Well, that's Massachusetts. That's Massachusetts for you. I don't know about that, D. The details about the itemization of the judgment is sealed, but not for her attorneys. The attorney, just because it's impounded to the public, doesn't mean that her attorney can't see it. I don't believe that is true at all, because they had the right to oppose it. They're an interested party. And in order to be able to oppose something intelligently, you have to be able to see everything. Right? So I don't think that she can't see it. I mean, if I get confirmation of that, I will absolutely correct myself. However, I believe that that was submitted in the papers before this order was issued. Doe says she's incredibly entitled. She can dish it out, but not take it. E. Flanders says, no man or woman is above the law, not Murdaugh and not Matney. Zoe says, the Beach family sued Parker's Kitchen, the gas station store that sold Paul alcohol before the boat crash. Right. Right. And they settled that one for about $15 million, right? That civil suit is why Parker's wants to depose Mandy, right? Because the civil suit is for civil conspiracy. Because somebody leaked photos of their daughter that were shown at the mediation. Similar, it reminds me a lot of Delphi and how there was a leak, remember? And then the attorneys got thrown off the case. But this is winding its way through the civil court. SMV says, just do what you're supposed to do. Defiance will only cause more problems, or should. Old Line Red says, not for nothing. Given Mandy's influence on the Hulu project, I really admired what she and the production team did to humanize both Paul and Maggie. Yes. Patricia Arquette is the queen, or is a queen. Miss Priss says, get Billy Bush to put your name out to Matt Damon. Right? Kimberly G says, they wanted to hurt her financially, so it's going to make them crazy that she raised the money to pay Parker's legal fees. Well, she's up to $58,000 on her GoFundMe. Certainly, if you believe in her cause, absolutely. Go on over there and contribute. You can find it. Just my opinion for you. Says, I might be on the wrong side for this case. However, stalking can be this most intense matter you will ever experience. I don't do crazy because I've lived it. Here's the thing, though. This guy is very public. He's a journalist. He's got 250,000 followers on. It doesn't mean he's not crazy. But it's different than an unknown person, I would submit to you, who makes death threats to you by those crazy text message apps that can disguise people's numbers and, emails from unknown, that people that are hiding behind names that aren't theirs and fake usernames and stuff like that, right? YouTube Dave question: did you go over the pro Proctor and anti Turtle Boy rulings yet? When did they come out? I think we're pretty much up to date on everything in those cases. Did they come out today? I don't know what you're talking about, Dave. If they're old, we've seen them. We've seen everything. We're very up to date on everything. Laura T says, Mel, honest question. If she really did fear for her safety, what would her options have been? Well, they've been trying to depose her since October, right? If she had a restraining order against the guy, I think that would have made a difference. If there were police reports against the guy, that probably would have made a difference. And she would have had some proof that this guy was really stalking her. And she also did have private security, right? But, I think the judge was mad because it wasn't the problem with the location wasn't brought up until 36 hours before the deposition. And then she shows up at her lawyer's office and says, this is where I'm staying, even though it's in the same town. And if she had a security guard with her, he could have protected her, right? I mean, I don't know. The judge, on the one hand, the judge is making an example out of her. You will not disobey my court orders. Nobody will. This will be precedent in the state of South Carolina. It may deter other people from just not showing up and not abiding by lawfully issued subpoenas. And I don't know the answer to this. Charmix says, agree, I'm not downplaying it, but has he threatened violence, showed up at her workplace or home, etc.? I don't know, because none of that was in the order. That's why I was asking everyone who seems to follow her, if there's any proof of that, please let me know. Will anything be done about Julie Albert blowing off her deposition? Probably not, Lorelei. Dee said that Mandy claimed that. Send me some receipts, Dee. Send me some receipts. Today, Proctor's stuff gets to stay impounded. That's from today? All right. And is it in the wrongful death case? All right. Everything happens on Friday. Hold for a second while I pull it up. I see a lot of people who are sending me emails that they're blocked in the chat, which I'm not even going to open right now. But if you are blocked in the chat, YouTube has been wonky. They've been blocking people. You need to send me the link to your YouTube channel. Even if you're just a viewer and you don't post anything on YouTube, you have a channel. Sending me a very long-winded email about all the reasons why you shouldn't be blocked without telling me who you are and giving me a link to your channel is not going to help you at all. And I can't go back and forth 400 times with people telling them what to send me, because I say this on every single stream. You have to find my email in the show notes of this video. I have to find all the traffic lights to get past the "you are not a robot" thing. You have to send me the actual link to your actual YouTube channel. Your username won't do it. Your email won't do it. Your real name won't do it. Your username won't do it. Google how to find your link and send it to me, because I do not have the time or the energy to go back and forth with people 400 times. I'm here to help, and I like to help, and I'm happy to unblock you if it happened by accident. But in order to do that, I absolutely need to know the link to your channel, and I can't go through it 400 times. Oh, it's under Aiden Judge Belazos. All right, well, that I can't access unless it's in my inbox, which I don't see it right now. Hold on. Yeah, I got the lemon pound cake one. Oh, there's lots of posts here on March 28th. There's a lot of them. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Sophia. Sophia sent me all of them. So, there's a whole bunch. Hold on. These are all posted March 28th, the day of her deposition. So do you want to see them? I guess a lot of people haven't seen him. So here we go. These are all posted on March 28th. Ready? 1. Come to your screen if you can. 2. There's the lemon pound cake one with Mark Tinsley. 3. Lemon head and lemon pound cake and other things on a table. You can zoom in on these later. Looks like that's Mandy and her husband. Oh, that's the cocktail one that the judge was talking about, where it looks like she's having a toast to not coming to her deposition, he thought. There they are in Savannah eating dinner, I guess. Looks like Ruth Bader Ginsburg wallpaper, maybe. Somewhere. Maybe that's in Savannah too. I don't know. Hold on, because it's getting out of my control here. Whoops. Oh, here's the caviar. There's the caviar. Somebody else said she never posted caviar. There's caviar on a Bellini. I can see it. Looks like there's maybe some oysters in the background too. And then it says making lemon pound cake out of lemons. The pictures don't show it, but yesterday was extremely stressful. It was very clear that Greg Parker's attorneys were feeding information to the felon who makes me fear, for my safety because of his obsessive posting about me. Good attorneys like Mark Tinsley respected my concerns and showed up to the deposition at the location where I had paid security, secured premises, and a safety plan. But why would you do all that if the court was not necessarily going to allow it there, right? Proctor's attorneys balked at my safety concerns that they contributed to escalating and never deposed me. So we ate my mama's lemon pound cake and made the most of it. And then my team of amazing attorneys, I don't know who that is because there are 2 people tagged there, and went to Savannah to celebrate, standing our ground for my safety. Stay pesky. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think that's the best way to go about it. And now it's $176,000 judgment later. And there's some oysters and clams on the half shell and some king crab legs. It looks like a giant seafood platter. And there's that. Can her lawyers be sanctioned? I don't think so. Listen, she took her lawyer's advice, and she's the one. The client is the one in the end who's responsible for it, not the attorneys. John Monagle's here. Hi, John. She says the cake post was it someone's birthday? I could see it in that situation, but if they were just celebrating, skipping the deposition, that's no good. The judge didn't like it. The judge didn't like it. What will she do? Will she appeal, or will she try and crowdfund the money to pay the full fee? She could also negotiate a lower fee. It is just a judgment. Bet she never pays. Did OJ ever pay? Well, here's the thing, Gravel Gertie. She's got a company. She's got Luna Shark Media. She's got assets. If she doesn't pay, they could go after her and start attaching her assets. You don't want to do that. Start attaching bank accounts and stuff. I don't think that OJ ever had any money or got any money, and he wound up in jail again. So it's a totally different scenario. You know what I'm saying? People who have assets don't want judgments against them because they can be enforced. Pat sent me, I think, the same thing. That's Crime and Casks stream. Eating pound cake is a normal Southern thing, not just for birthdays. But it's funny because lemon pound cake we got from the Afro Man trial. And if you know the Afro Man trial, you know why we laugh about lemon pound cake. It's just the fact that it's lemon pound cake. Resting back face says, hey, Mel, just letting you know you came up as a YouTube featured channel for me this morning. I don't even know what that is, but I'll allow it. Thank you. Thank you for coming in all the way from the down under. A couple of new members today. Charmick, Life Light, I Am, Casey, and Rosie Red, welcome. Scott says, on an $82 million payout from a civil case, how much does the law firm get? 1/3. If you do your job correctly, you don't get deposed. Plaintiff's attorneys get a third. Well, in New York, we get a third. Some states allow for higher retainers, like 40% or 50% if it goes to trial. Remember the Maya Kowalski case? And Greg Anderson's firm wanted something like a 50% fee on the $260 million. Thank you, Scott. D says, 3 days ago, Mandy posted on Facebook, I'm angry that he ruled that the fees are confidential, so I have no idea how much of that money was actually spent to stalk my social media. I know, I read it. I pulled up the post. But why wouldn't her attorneys have that? I'm saying that she said that. Are we taking everything that she posts on social media as the absolute 100% truth? I don't know. Maybe her attorneys have it. I'm just saying. Of course, they would be allowed to see it. I can see why the public wouldn't be allowed to see it. But we did actually pull it up and we looked at that, sweetie. So I don't know why, I'm not going to believe everything that somebody says on the internet is true unless I have it in a court document. The court documents are sealed, but typically they're only sealed to the public, not to the actual attorneys who are going to fight it, right? Because they would need to know. Let me just, you can keep the pound cake. I'll keep cheesecake, says Scott. Hold on 1 second. I mean, usually there are people who send me everything. Okay. All right. Got it. Here's the order in. Looks like there's an order in Aiden's case. Hold on. All it is an order to impound the motion. So, but if you want to see it, I'll show it to you. Hold on. Let's show. Right here. It's like this came out today. In the Commonwealth versus Aiden Carney case, Commonwealth's motion to impound Commonwealth's response to defendant's motion to compel disclosure of Michael Proctor's communications. Commonwealth wants to impound the motion. And Judge Belizos said he allowed it. That was today, July 17th. Cosgrove wants to impound the motion to compel disclosure of Michael Proctor's communications. And I guess it's going to be impounded. Impounded is another word for sealed. They call it different things in different jurisdictions. And in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, they say impounded. In New York, we would say under seal. All right, so that's one thing. I don't know how that's against Aiden and in favor of Proctor, but it is what it is, and it's par for the course. Anybody watching the Open, the golf, the real Open, the original Open in Troon? And then here's a picture of the court docket that says, no surprise impoundment allowed. Okay, and then I guess he got the actual document. Kyle Sharkey did. Commonwealth's motion to impound Commonwealth's response to defendant's motion to compel disclosure of Michael Proctor's communications allowed. I don't know. So I guess Cosgrove thought he had some stuff in there that was the public shouldn't see. And so it's been impounded. There it is. Fresh off the docket via Kyle Sharkey. Thank you, Jay, for sending me screen prints. But I think we already looked at them. We looked at them. You sent me screenshots of what we just looked at. But thank you for your super chat, and I'll pull it up one more time in case other people just got here and they didn't see it. She posted, I'm not angry that Judge R. Keith Kelly found me in contempt of court. I'm angry that he's ordering me to pay an unprecedented amount in legal fees, $171,000 plus $5,000 in fines to Greg Parker's attorneys. I'm angry that he ruled that the fees are confidential, so I have no idea how much of that money was actually spent to stalk my social media and define me in the public index. Right. But the fees are not confidential to her and her attorneys. I think the fees are confidential, like the public can't see them. So I don't know if she didn't know that her lawyer had them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that she posted that. Hold on. And then there's one more thing that you sent me here. I'm just telling you the way that it typically works based on my over 30 years experience as a civil litigator. I'm angry that he ruled that the fees are confidential, so I have no idea how much of that money was actually spent to stalk my social media and defame me in the public index. South Carolina justice system is exactly what I've been saying all along, corrupt. And this is my punishment for calling it like it is. Like I said in today's Cup of Justice podcast, if you want to help in this fight to change the system, check the latest slide for more information. Thanks to everyone who's supported me in this. Y'all will carry us through every step. I know it. If there's any South Carolina petitioners or practitioners, I should say, in the chat, please let me know if this is something that the person who is charged with paying would not be allowed to see the impounded affidavits of all of the billing records for the $176,000 that she needs to pay. I just don't see how that could possibly be. But I thank you so much, Dee, for always being here and for your super chat. Mel Moreland says, in my opinion, Mandy clearly flaunted the judge's order. The photo of eating cake would tick me off too. You can't be a fearless reporter who's afraid to be at a place with one bathroom. Yeah, I don't know what the whole thing about it is. And JBD is from Troon. Useless fact for you there. Never played golf in my life. That's awesome. It looks like a beautiful, beautiful place in Scotland. Oh, Mandy. Oh, Mandy. Says TWR. Yeah, I don't know what this is, Allie. Allie says, has anyone requested the BBO letter to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, Marcy, regarding the conflict in the Turtle Boy Karen Reed investigation? Does anyone want to? Corey Hopkins on X 8 hours ago. Here's the thing. What it sounded like to me, because I watched this little blurb of what Greg Connors said, and since you're talking about it right now, let me pull it up and play it for you. And wait, there was one other thing that I wanted to play for you, the Matt Damon thing. Hold on. All right, so this is allegedly from the Kelly Ripa show this morning. A video of Matt Damon talking about the fact that he's going to make a Karen Reed movie. So let's watch this first. Many of you said you watched it live, so here you go.
Kelly's obsessed with the Karen Reed trial. Are you familiar with this trial?
Yes, sure. Yeah. I'm developing a movie at the company about it. Yeah.
You are. We are.
I'm developing a movie with a company about it. What? And who's been screaming this since the beginning? I'm like, if Ben Affleck and Matt Damon aren't all over this story because they're from Boston. These are Massachusetts guys. He says it's happening or it's in development. These things could be in development for 10 years, just so you know.
Yeah.
That is true.
Very early days, yes.
I am very excited about this. If you need a consultant,
Okay.
I will.
TV was on at our house 8 hours a day, and then the recap was on every day of what happened during that trial. Kelly's well versed in this.
I will let the team.
Is Kelly a cupcake? Do you think Kelly's a cupcake? Do you think Kelly's free Karen Reed? Or do you think she's Karen Reed is guilty? Think she's an anti or a free Karen Reed? Aiden happened to just run into Ben Affleck in a pizzeria. I know that was hilarious. He got a picture with him too. Yeah, but that was like a bump in. Is Sandra Bullock on board yet? Liz wants to know. Right, because Kerry Roberts, the day after, was it the day after John O'Keefe's murder or in the days following, said that she wanted Sandra Bullock to play her in the movie.
No, but
I am here for, and I can answer any of your questions.
Okay, fantastic.
All right, so she's free Karen Reed, you're telling me. All right, let me show you the other thing that Greg Connor said. Oh my God, can you hear that? I hope you couldn't hear that because I'm not allowed to play music and that was in someone's very loud post. Kelly had AJ and Karen on a while back, so she's free Karen Reed. Oh, okay. All right, that's cool. Okay, so here's what Greg Connor said to, I think this is Christina Rex. And people are saying, can we FOIA request this opinion? Oh, you couldn't hear? Good. Because it was Stevie Nicks. Okay, here we go. And then we'll take the question after this.
He's facing several counts of witness intimidation. And most likely I think because of delays, he's going to go to trial under whoever's the next DA.
Oh, clearly talking about Turtle Boy here. Clearly talking about Turtle Boy, WBZ, Christina Rex, interviewing Greg Connor, who is the Michael Marcy replacement for district attorney, who is running to replace Michael Marcy, one of the good old boys.
What would your plan be?
Well, so right now there is an independent prosecutor that's been hired by the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, retired Judge Cosgrove. It's prosecuting that case. And my understanding was he was hired because the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, not Michael Morrissey, not anyone else, the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office was conflicted out, and that was determined by the BBO.
Oh, I'm sorry, what? The conflict was determined by the BBO. Okay, they call their bar association. We have the New York State, the Bar Association. They call it the Board of BBO. Board of Bar Overseers. I don't know what that says. Board of Borrower Overseers. That's wrong. Okay, so listen to that again.
Anyone else? The Norfolk County District Attorney's Office was conflicted out, and that was determined by the BBO, the Board of Bar Overseers.
Okay, so that wasn't Michael Morrissey's call.
No, my understanding is that they went to the Board of Bar Overseers, got asked for an opinion. They said you're conflicted out, so you had to get another prosecutor.
Here's the thing. If you have an ethical dilemma, let's just say, if you have an ethical dilemma, you as an attorney, as a member in good standing of the Bar Association, can go to the ethics committee for an opinion about whether or not what you're about to do or what you want to do is ethical or not. Sometimes they are in writing, sometimes they are not. And so I don't know if that would be discoverable. I don't know if it would be something that would even be in writing. I don't know if they just spoke to someone over the phone to get an opinion and got some advice, and they're like, yeah, no, you better hire a special prosecutor. Like, I just don't know. So I don't know if it would be discoverable, but that is the right thing to do if you're questioning that what you want to do could be a violation of the rules of professional responsibility. See? So I don't know that there is any documentation of that, but I'm sure if there is, somebody will get it. Right? Somebody will get it. Whether it would be something that would be in writing remains to be seen. She's 100% free kind read, you guys are saying about Kelly Ripa. Oh, all right. This is the other thing that I was going to pull up for you. Hold on. So let's pull up Matt Damon's. Hold on. Oh, come on, really? Got to scan a QR code? Hold on a second. They're going to make it difficult for me to get on IMDb Pro, but we're going to do it because we're here and you want to know. We have to see if this is actually in the works or not. We're falling into the rabbit hole in real time. Okay, here we go. All right, IMDb Pro is the tool of the trade for you to find out everything that is going on in Hollywood. And if it's a paid subscription, so not everybody can see this. So let's take a look. And let's look at Matt Damon's IMDb Pro page. And this is where you get all the information. You can find out everything about him, everything he's ever done, everything he's going to do, who his agent is, how to reach his agent, etc. And here's Matt Damon. And the star meter is based on popularity. So he is the 22nd most popular actor on IMDb today, and it's based on page views. So if everyone would go click on my IMDb page every single day, it's linked below in my show notes, it would really help my star meter, because I don't know what my star meter is right now. I have no idea. Does it really matter? No, but it just means he's really popular. Who's number one today? I don't know. We can try and find out another day. So here's Matt Damon, producer, actor, writer, and here's what he's known for: Good Will Hunting, The Martian, The Departed, The Talented Mr. Ripley. He's won 1 Oscar. He's got 40 wins and 159 nominations total. And if we look at his projects that are in development right now, here are all the projects that he's got listed as in development. Falling to Earth, Father-Daughter Time, A Tale of Armed Robbery, and Eskimo Kisses. These are all in development. House of Deceit, Killing Gawker, Race to the South Pole, RFK, Sleeper, The Shadows, The Trade, Untitled, African Mercenaries Project, Untitled, John Krasinski, and Oren Uziel Project. And that's everything that he's got right now that's in development. And I don't think any of these have anything to do with Karen Reed. We don't know if it's a Turtle Boy project or a Karen Reed project, or if it's an independent project. We don't know. It's in the very early stages. It's not to the point where it's not even on. No, it's not House of Deceit, because I looked that up too. Houses of Deceit says, we can go to that page. That's about a look at corruption. A look at the corruption scandal involving the leaders of the International Football Organization. So that's not it. It's not it. And then you can look at the stuff that is like, has already filmed and hasn't been released yet, and upcoming. Untitled, well, wait, hold on. Untitled Daniels Universal event film. What's that? Let's see. I don't think that has anything to do with it. Oh, Sandra Oh, Michael Gandolfini. Yeah, this is. Oh, that's a comedy. So that's definitely not the Karen Reed story. This is how we fall into rabbit holes. Animals, Apostle Paul, Flash Before the Bang. That's in post-production, so that's not. Free Bird with a free BYRD in pre-production. Green Berets, Ocean's 14, King of Oil, Thirst, Turbulence. Let's see if we can find anything. Untitled Tom McCarthy film, but that's in post-production, so it should be called Taillight, somebody said. Witness for the Prosecution. Oh, let's see if that's it. Hold on. No, it's based on an Agatha Christie novel. A veteran lawyer must defend a man in what promises to be the most dramatic trial of his career. You know, that's also when I was in London. It was on the London's Broadway. I don't know if it's on New York Broadway. So I just don't see anything here that it could be. Flash Before the Bang. So that's in post. So that's already in the can, as they say. I mean, if it's so fresh that it didn't even hit the IMDb Pro yet. Yeah, he said it was just early talking stages, but this is how we fall into rabbit holes, because we want to know more. We want to know everything. What's the Untitled? Oh wait, we looked at that, right? Yeah, that's the comedy. Follows 20 experts who gather at a beachside resort in Florida in 1980 for a weekend conference on climate change. That's not it. So that's it. We don't know. Indy Navarrete is number 1 on the star meter. Oh, thanks for looking that up, Debbie. Thanks for looking that up. Oops. And that is how we go. Very early stages, but even if they're in the very early stages, sometimes it appears on here, sometimes it doesn't. So there's that. Matt Damon. Well, did come from his lips. It did. And Kelly Ripa was very, very happy about it, it seems. What else you got for me, peeps? Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Before we wrap this Friday stream, I hope you liked it today. We want to talk about something a little bit different. And there are many people apparently who have a lot of opinions about Mandy Matney, one way or the other. And I really don't have an opinion either way. I just think it is in the best practices not to violate court orders and then maybe post about them, like flaunting the fact that you did. I don't know. I don't know. It's just my initial opinion. WJAR says the Reed film is in early development with Ben Damon and Affleck's Artist Equity Company. Okay, let's see if the company has anything on their page. Thank you for assisting me deeper into the rabbit hole. Contacts. Artist Equity is the name of his company. Got it. Let's see if they've got anything on theirs. Here's that. Look who's on staff at Artist Equity. Matt Damon, Luciana Damon, his wife. She was a bartender when he met her. I think in Florida. Ben Affleck, Amy Bear, and then sometimes it says like what they've got in production. Let's see, all 27 credits. Up in development. Let's see. A Woman in the Sun, Freebird, Hunting Whitey Bulger. I'm sorry, what? They're doing a miniseries called Hunting Whitey Bulger. Why? Did they come into contact with Hank Brennan at some point? Killing Gawker, The Renewal. A Woman in the Sun. What's that about? Let's see. Follows Claire Keating, a bartender on Nantucket whose world cracks open when her mother gets sick and her daughter moves home. She must reckon with her past and take ownership of her future. Okay. That's with Renee Zellweger and Sissy Spacek and Mia Threepleton. No, Ben Affleck did not meet up with Aidan Carney. Ben Affleck ran into Aidan Carney at a pizzeria down the Cape. See what Freebird is all about. A Las Vegas motorcycle stuntman who conceals a dementia diagnosis from everyone. Okay, that's going to star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I don't know. It must be in such early stages that they're just like literally whispering about it. That's all we got for now. Thank you very much, Heather, for helping me in my rabbit hole. Oh, yeah. Justin Alayan has started a Give Send Go to help him rebuild his life, which is hilarious. His self-imposed life. He lives with his parents. What does he need money for? And Kelsey's paying him some, child support. Not a lot, but isn't he also on paid vacation with his job? Or did he get fired from his job? Like, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Do you think, has he raised any money? Like, what's the Give Send Go total for Justin Alayan? Allie? Caroline can't wait for Fanning Part 2. Good. I'm going to build your suspense because I want more interest in it. Didn't get a lot of views. We need more interest in that. Do you know about Kevin Clapp? Kevin Clapp is a guy that used to date John Fanning's mom. Like Kevin Clapp, like raised John Fanning. And it has been alleged by Kevin Clapp that at one time, John Fanning held him at gunpoint and made him do oral on him. Like it's in court papers, okay? People are saying John Fanning, Michael Proctor's an idiot and a racist and a bigot. John Fanning is evil. That's what people are saying. Look up Kevin Clapp, C-L-A-P-P. There are also some allegations of some things that John Fanning did to a person in Florida. Yeah, because you guys are sending me everything, and it's going to be probably more than 2 parts. More than 2 parts. I know you could have lived without that. You can't unsee it once it's in your head, right? Woman in the Sun and a Man in the Snow. Unfortunately, that's not it, right? JC the massage therapist. Yeah, some weird story about Clapp and Fanning in Florida. Yeah, go fall into the rabbit hole yourself. Don't put any dirty words in the chat. I know. Danielle's like, I'm dying for the rabbit hole part 2. I can't wait. Yeah, and I guess there's more dirt on Robert Devine too. Like when I first started this part 1, I didn't know that it was going to take this dark, twisted turn into Kevin Clapp. I did not know that story, but there's lawsuits about it. There's public filings about it. There was like a beatdown, like Kevin Clapp got. I mean, there's a lot of issues, a lot of things. GRB Chaser said, "Love your Dave Matthews Band posters. I know, aren't they awesome? Favorite band of my teens. Learn to play while singing Satellite on guitar. Not easy. No, but you know what? They're on tour right now. So if you want to catch them this summer, now's the time. Next week, Jones Beach." Carrie says, "Oh my God, I looked it up and I didn't find that stuff. I'm offended. Google let me down." I know. Just Google Kevin Clapp with 2 P's. Thank you, GRB Chaser, for your super chat. And Charles Argo is here from South Africa, as always, and says, "Did you know that Betero has clients regarding Einstein?" I think you meant Epstein, right? How did you know that? Thank you for your super chat and for tuning in from South Africa. Venus with Cupcake says, "Fake therapist in the list case. I love you with all my heart." Yeah, are they charging her with federal? Are they charging her with anything? That is insane. Because I watched the documentary, and many of you did, and there was a therapist that was like treating Rex Heuermann, the Long Island serial killer, while he was awaiting trial before he pled guilty, and she was featured heavily in the documentary, and they brought her down to meet with a very famous FBI profiler whose name escapes me at this very moment. And he also was interviewed for this documentary. Her name was Allison something. And somebody said I think it's a degree of separation. I don't know. And it turns out she's got no credentials. She's not a therapist. Michael Brown, his attorney, is the one who referred him to this woman, Allison. And I remember when this documentary, when I watched it, I said, "Oh my God, I got to get this woman, Allison, on my show." And I could not find her. Like, the internet was scrubbed of her. Like, she had no office. I'm like, but she's here on Long Island. She's a therapist. There must be some footprint of her somewhere. There was nothing. I couldn't find anything. And so she's the one who was in the room when Rex confessed to Asa that he really was the serial killer, and that, he was in the room with Victoria when he confessed that Allison was in the room. She brokered this whole thing where he would tell them before his guilty plea went public. And turns out she's got no credentials. And I think she's being criminally charged. But I remember looking for her and I couldn't find her. And I'm like, that's just weird. Right? So that's just crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Pat Ray says, and John Fanning was the head of the sex crimes and cyber crimes units at the Norfolk County MSP unit. Well, when we fell in the rabbit hole the other day, we know what happened with the surveillance footage from the Home Ice Sports Bar in Quincy all the way back in 2015 in the murder case of Keith Boudreau and Paul Fahey, who's now out after his retrial, got a new trial. Paul Fahey swears that he and Colleen Fanning altered all that video, that there was never original raw video provided to them in the criminal trial. And it's crazy. Yep. Marcy State Police Detective roster was all handpicked, all of them specifically for a purpose, to study. His roster is akin to listing Hitler's Waffen-SS and Gestapo. Yeah, and it was said that he was chosen. Where did I see that? He was chosen. Thank you, Scott McGinnis. They were all handpicked and chosen. And Fanning was Proctor's supervisor. Tully was the supervisor of all of them, right? It's Fanning, Fanning. Fanning in Florida. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't unsee it. So if you're going to go into that rabbit hole, I am warning you now that you can't unsee it or unhear it or unread it once you see it. Mm-hmm. It's true. The smoke has cleared here, so that's good. Bella Brad says, what? Where's Fanning? Part 1. You're a bad cupcake, Bella. We did it yesterday. I think it was yesterday, right? Wasn't it yesterday? Document dump incoming. Typical Friday in Massachusetts. I know, it happens every Friday at 5 p.m. That's why I stayed on a little extra, just in case. Oh, I see it. Thanks, Kyle. There's a bunch of notices of discovery that just dropped, but I can't do those live with you on the air. I have to do that in private because there's apparently a document dump. All right, here's the thing. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to make sure you're subscribed. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. Helps the algorithm. Hit the like button. It's free. If you want merch, I think it's still 20% off today. But before I tell you that, just double check for you. All merch, 20% off your entire purchase. It expires today. Make sure you clip the coupon at the top. There's the Godfather merch now. There's Block Island merch. All the merch is there for you. The trucker hats are still on sale for $11.99 plus 20% off. The link to the merch is underneath this video. Make sure you click the coupon at the top. They do ship internationally. It doesn't come, Amazon fast, but it comes about a week. Set your notifications so that you know when I go live, because you don't know when that's going to be, but I'm sure I'm going to see you over the weekend. Yeah, this is the same rabbit hole that I went down with the Karen Reed case. Yep. All right. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. Thank you, moderators, because without these moderators, I could not be here every single day because they protect me fiercely. And I defer to my moderators 100%. So if you got timed out, it's for a reason. And they have their reasons. It's not me that does the timing out. It's them. Just be nice. That's it. That's all you got to do. Be nice or leave. And remember today's affirmation for a badass. Once again, focus on the positive, you silly little bitch. Love you guys. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Get ready for Monday because we're going to be covering Turtle Boy live at 9 a.m. But I'll see you before then, I promise. Because if I don't see you soon, am I going to die? Peace. Love you guys.